Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer! Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit education or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature.
Doing a great job with the heart these things.
You late again, Eddie.
I know what you've been trying to do. You ain't gonna do it. See, Big Red done pulled my coattail to you a long, long time ago.
That's bullshit, Eddie. You talking crazy.
Crazy like a mother fox. And you, I can see through your jive ass like glass, nigga.
Eddie, you got it all wrong, man.
Stealing my moves, my style, nigga. Even trying to riff like me.
Hey, man, why don't you get your boy out of here and detox him?
You on my spot, Flash? Slum dwelling, scum sucking, slug ass motherfucker. You on my spot, Flash? Huh? Well, you ain't gonna get it. Cause you ain't got it.
These Ghana boys seems innocent, Boogie. Got everybody on the post thinking he's a strong black buck. White boys envy his strength, his speed, power in his swing. Then this colored champion lets those same white boys call him Shine or Sambo.
Whoa, Lord.
And he just smiles.
Dream about the time when I was a little boy.
Can't talk.
The night would get
Can barely read or write his own name. And don't care. He'll tell you they like him. Or that colored folks ain't supposed to have but so much sense.
Yes, he would.
You know the damage one ignorant Negro can do. We were in France in the First War. We'd won decorations. But the white boys had told all them French gals that we had tails. Then they found this ignorant colored soldier. Paid him to tie a tail to his ass and run around half naked making monkey sounds. Put him on a big round table in the Cafe Napoleon. Put a reed in his hand, crown on his head, blanket on his shoulders, and made him eat bananas in front of all them Frenchies. Oh, the white boys danced that night. Passed out leaflets with that boy's picture on it. Called him Moonshine, King of the Monkeys. And when we slit his throat, you know that fool asked us what he had done wrong. My daddy told me we got to turn our backs on his kind, Wilkie. Close our ranks to the chitlins, the collard greens, the cornbread style. We are men, soldiers. And I don't intend for our race to be cheated out of its place of honor and respect in this war because of fools like CJ. You watch everything he does. Everything.
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I said by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. He's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know.
Various groups, feminist, gay rights groups, and those who are defending immigrants have commandeered the black civil rights experience.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that because I think it's one of the most important points of the book. I mean, I think the way liberals have treated blacks like children and many of their policies have been harmful to blacks. At least they got the beneficiary group right. We do have to, I mean, we shouldn't. There is the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow laws. We don't owe the homeless. We don't owe feminists. We don't owe women who are desirous of having abortions, but that's, or gays who want to get married to one another. That's what civil rights has become for much of the left. They dropped the blacks after 5 minutes.
Immigrant rights are not civil rights?
No, I think civil rights are for blacks. We done to the immigrants. We owe black people something. We have a legacy of slavery. Immigrants haven't even been in this country. Democrats are dropping the blacks and moving on to the Hispanics because they're a larger group of Hispanics now. But could I just say to Jorge, I hate to disagree with you when you're attacking President Obama, but I think the point on immigration is you can have open borders or you can have a welfare state. You cannot have both.
Men and women and children were brought to our shores in chains, subjected to unimaginable cruelty. My nation's original sin was that period.
And since the American white man has used his control over the press and over the textbooks and over all forms of media to make it appear that he has done us a favor by bringing us here and enslaving us, rewrite history or retell history. And since the white man can't dispute this truth, it's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's truth. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I'm your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is We Up Report. First and foremost, I'm going to say what's good to the fam. Passerbys, welcome. This is the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Go down the aisle. Happen to see some of my most latest things. If you make it feel some kind of way, remember the motto of my show is the truth. Don't need no partner. Well, we're going to get into today. Let's give some thanks, special thanks. First and foremost, we want to give a special thanks out to Mr. Spencer 0620 again for his contribution that he continued to give to We Up Report. Me and my family are always thankful and appreciative of everything that he do when and whenever we tip our head off to you. We also had another brother. Special thanks to Petruel Will, again, for his cash app. Me and my family thank you and your kindly gracious gift and donation to We Up Report. We thank you for yours. So, yeah, some of y'all might have clicked on to this show based on the fact that you've seen the thumbnail. And so today's show is going to be on this here particular. Let's go ahead and show that thumbnail for me, sir. All right. Vatican says, well, Vatican, we still own all of y'all. Let me say that one more again. Vatican, we still own all y'all, right? So the Vatican said some things that we will get into this show, and the fact of them, again, as you see in the thumbnail, rescind the doctrine. Those may not know what the doctrine is all about. Maybe you have some knowledge and some history about that doctrine. It had been questioned as the Pope did a tour to the indigenous people, but we didn't see the Pope come here to the United States, and maybe there's a reason for him not coming here. But I did a show some time back, some years, about the letter by the Pope, right, and some things that had been disclosed in that. So we will touch on that, and there's some other things we will touch as we go along, of things that are part of the current event topics that have happened recently. So we will be treading on that. So let me go ahead and let's get into this first story here. And I don't know if y'all seen this or not, but life lesson. A father buys son 40 acres of land in San Diego County for 13th birthday. Let me say that one more again. Life lesson. Father buys son 40 acres of land in San Diego County for 13th birthday. Now, this story was actually given to me by one of my subscribers, Bernard Thomas. He's been so thorough and been consistent. I don't want that brother to think that we don't see his work. And today we're going to start the show off with that. So we appreciate this story that he's given to the show. So in this particular story here, a story that went viral, it was posted. It was a brother named Fahim Muhammad who gave his son for his birthday, and to show, again, the life lessons that parents would like to give to their children if you have the economics, if you're trying to give a good foundation. In this case here, in this example that he's showing, that for many of us, we're talking about land and how to be self-sufficient. Well, here was a story that went, and sometimes we got to take the good stories sometimes to cover over some of these bad things that are out here. But in this one, this was an example for many of us, and he's coming from San Diego, and he has 40 acres of land, and that this Mr. Muhammad had bought back in about 2001, so about 2 years ago. And he supposedly has a business in real estate where he does rebuilding properties that goes back into the south side of Chicago, which he says he creates better living situations for Black communities in Chicago. So we have to tip our hat off for a brother that will go back to the communities, do things that, again, we need some self-sufficiency. We need better living conditions. And so this brother has taken upon himself as the work that he's doing, and we want to give some commemoration to him, and the fact that we want to bring some light about what he's done for his children, which many of us would love to do that, again, based on our financial circumstances. So his company, for those who might want to know, is called the Oasis Investment Group. And what he does is he teaches people about home ownership, and that the people that he had been trying to help the most are families who had been on government assistance for years, right? So, you know, there's some people, they believe that when we on government assistance that we become, it's like a pacifier to a baby. It settles, it soothes, and we get comfortable. And so some people get stuck in a rut because, again, we have 5 different generations, going from the silent generation to the baby boomers to Generation X, right, and so forth. We got about 5 generations. And in the midway where you got Gen X is kind of, well, let's say the beginning of the new school and then the end of old school. So the kind of Gen X is really at the crossroads. So it's kind of like we've been at a time when no technology, a lot of things you had to be manual, to where the technology came in and the things that are happening now. And so we know the difference. We were in the area of the time, again, when you talk about minimum wage, $3.25 an hour, that don't sound like a lot of money, and it wasn't a lot of money. Just the dollar may have stretched a little bit further at that time. So we understand the significance and, let's say, of where we are today, the mindset and the things that the people are trying to espouse as foundations for us to come out of the rut and through our history. And so this brother here has taken it upon himself, doing things, giving back to the community. Again, his Oasis Investment Group. again, to help people who are in that condition, and that they also have where they enroll them, put them in courses about how to own their own homes, and the fact that he attributed this by when he was growing up, that his mother was instilling that in him, his brothers and sisters, which is his siblings, and her name is Amina Muhammad. So we want to give some honor and praise and a salute to her for her trying to rear. So we need these kind of examples because we see a lot of our people we're in situations that we don't know, and sometimes we need examples and good stories to give us some boost about some things. And so we see that this mother took it upon herself to teach him and his siblings and the importance, how it is about own their properties and to give back and help the community. Let me say that one more again. Not also did she teach them about the value of about owning, about property, but she also instilled in them about giving back to the communities. Because see, what happens is a lot of times things are, ice is colder, the grass is greener in other places, but when it comes to where we live amongst ourselves, it's kind of like when Africa talks about the brain drain in Africa, right? You're talking about the brain drain where they took the best and choices. But now again, many of us don't believe in that story, and then there's those who believe in the story, but I'm just using this as a story, and that they took the choices, kind of like also in the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar took the choices amongst them and brought them in and put them and acclimated to his own system. So when you see it like that, you have to say, okay, they take the best of them and then they use them for their own situation. So how do we reverse that and make it better for ourselves? So we have to have a new teaching, a new philosophy, because the old philosophy, again, as I said, silent generation, baby boomer, Gen X, when you come out of those systems, when you come out of the generations of people who, by the time Gen X's are coming on the scene, just graduating out of high school for first generations for some of them, right? Is coming in the 80s, late 80s, middle 80s, almost 90s. You're just having some families having the first time in their families, people graduating just out of high school. So a lot of people, in hindsight, when the new ones looking today and looking back, a lot of times y'all don't really understand that all this is still new to us. You also remember there's the Great Migration of the 1930s. Then you had two of them, right? You had 1930 to 1910 to 1930 and 1930 to, no, it's 1930 to 1970, right? So it was that period of time where we were transitioning from the South, again being X'd out, going through the turbulence and so forth, and there was opportunities based on the fact of the wars that were happening. A lot of white men went away, so it gave opportunities for a lot of us to come from the South and come up. And so again, that being like migrants, how we see today, traversing from one land to another, whether those of us who come from the 13 rebel nations coming from the South, these were the things we had to do. We had to learn a new system, be acclimated in, and go through the trials and errors. And the fact that we were living in dilapidated places. Some of us came out of situations where we come from families who have several generations of education. But I think a lot of people forget the fact that not everybody was privy to that. And so a lot of people don't attribute the fact that you have some people who are first-time college graduates in their family. So there is a teaching amongst them about getting jobs and getting education to come to not being able to own. And we know that how they talk about redlining and how the banks wasn't giving loans. So when we start now in this day, giving this type of information to the new ones, where it's more foreseeable than it was at those times, right? Not saying that too much for myself, being to live through to see through the generations, that I'm not saying it was better, but the information was not as, let's say, abundant and plentiful. And you could go in and just do your own research unless you had to go to the libraries and things like that. So we see that based on they saying the name Muhammad, I'm assuming that they're coming out of the Nation of Islam. And so there was that self-taught teaching about this information. She did that, gave it to her children. So we see that the son of the individual that she taught is now taking that information and now passing it to another generation, right? And as he turned 13, he gave him 40 acres of land. You know what that 40 acres is representing? That 40 acres is representing when we talk about the history of we as Black Americans in this country. We talk about the 40 acres and the mule. So in this case, he wanted to give his son at 13 years old a fresh start on, put that picture up there for me. He wanted to give him that fresh start on about how it is to have land and be on land and how that land is yours and it is your responsibility how you're going to chill it and make it develop and become something, right? So these are great things. These are great attributes that you want to give when you're rearing and trying to put somebody, especially as the time is coming, the purses are getting and the wallets are getting smaller, and people who do not have will be in bad situations, right? And so these are things here that they tried to do. So he said these things, the reason why he did that is because he said these are the life lessons that is about land, about owning land. And then he said also by him doing this, he's teaching other children, other kids that affiliate with his children. Those are part of the community. They're getting to see the examples. Because again, as we talk about the brain drain, we talk about in the hoods, in the communities that a lot of us reside or had once upon a time reside. What happens in the brain drains with that is because of the conditions and the environments, a lot of people don't feel safe. And so what they do is they feel like across away from their own is better. And so what happens is there's no examples in the communities for people to see. So a lot of times it may be a one-parent home. Sometimes it can be two-parent. But depending on that, everybody was educated. And then we talk about the times of factory works. We talk about warehousing, right? People working as into housing, cleaning and hotels. So, making ends meet, doing the best they can until some fruition of a skill or ability that you had. And this is how you got out of the muck and mire. But there's some of us who don't know this. And I hear a lot of us people who talking in these corners, and you don't have the people of a certain age who are not articulating this to let you know that the things that some of y'all looking at the people before you and saying that there was lackluster or they didn't have that drive. No, the access to information, the access to resources, and the fact that the money, again, if I'm telling you, let's say if many of y'all have parents who are Gen X, grandparents are Gen X, when they were 18 years old, they were only getting $3.25 an hour, right? Today, come out $15. So just imagine somebody who worked in that capacity of, let's just say, what they call, let's just say you just did menial work, right? Nothing too spectacular, but it pays the bills. And what you do is you make best do, but you stay there. And the thing of longevity was you get raises. And so over time, a person, let's say if they came back in the city, working there, they've been there since, let's say 95. Okay, so we're talking about now it's going to be 23. So that means this person has been there almost 30 years. So by the time when they do the upgrade, it's talking about $15 an hour, and you coming in brand new, $15 may sound like a lot of money to you, but somebody who's been there from $3.25 and had to go through the thorns and stripes to get up to where you are now, they done been through all that. So it sounds good, $15 and $20 an hour, when you understand that how much the dollar has shrunken and how many more dollars it takes for you to purchase something where it only took less dollars then. And so now inflation has caught up. So a lot of them will be people who will be struggling out here. A lot of y'all got to understand that it's not that they didn't want, it's just the time and the game done changed. So anyway, so with that being said, this brother here doing it with his son, giving that example, giving him some land. Then San Diego, again, he's giving that example to the inner cities. They also had built created an organ. They call it the organization where they created a rites of passage, where they take camps and take the children from the inner cities. Put that back up there for me first. They take them, put them back, get the children from the inner cities and take them to the forest. They learn about land. They give them information. So you got to be commendable for a brother like this for doing what he's doing. And he would take them from San Diego to LA. They would, again, retreat in these camps, give them life lessons, talk about things, talk about how to build. So now the one thing that I'm going to say is not the negative aspect, but it is something we got to think about. When we talk about land, and you have a lot of people in here say we need land, we got to do this. Is all land good land? Let me say that one more again. Is all land good land? Is all land good land? What I mean by that is, in this story, they talked about that the lands that he has purchased, that he's given these 40 acres they are beside the U.S.-Mexican border. Let me say that one more again. He said the lands that they are seeking or they have acquired and the lands that they own are by the U.S.-Mexican border. Now, lately in the news, we've been seeing that there's, flocking, Asians and Chinese is flocking, and then, there's a lot of flocking going on. So just imagine you have territory over in those particular areas. You're going to have to also have security, because that means that people who come across the borders are coming across your land, correct? And then you know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that the idea and the thing that he's given, but as they talk about in real estate, location, location, location. So even when we talk about our history, when we talk about the Homestead Act, that they were giving our ancestors land, did y'all not know there was two? When we talk about 1862, then they made the second one was in about 1865, 1866, where the lands that were left over was like going into, I don't know if they do that today, rummage sales, right? Or, going to they got a sale and things that people done picked through and went through and all that. So all the lands that was left over was the lands that they felt like they were not good enough. So even though you can get land, but if your land is not, if you can build on it, that's one thing. But let's say the soil ain't no good. There's some other things that could be attributed to not being good land, but even though just having land, but there's also that aspect too. So location must be key, other than just the fact of just getting land. But I want to give some praise to this story here. And this brother, again, his name is Fahim Muhammad, and he gave his 13-year-old 40 acres of land. And we understand that. Matter of fact, that's how I look at it. Touch this story here, right? Been all over. So we want to give our congratulations to that LSU 2023 NCAA championship. This is the game that's been heard around the country due to little things that done transpired in there, right? So we said we're going to touch a little bit of that. We're going to get to what you came on the thumbnail. I give you the description of things that I would be talking about. But in particular, right, we want to give our hats off to them doing their job again. Matter of fact, when you look at it, right, there was something that kind of fell out in this story, because this was Louisiana State University against Iowa, right? And the thing that went about was this Angel Reese and this Caitlin Clark, right? What happened between them, two major players. Matter of fact, we look at that Caitlin Clark, right? This one here was, it's kind of like the darling, white people's darling. Matter of fact, if you look at her background just in this year, she had the John Wooden Award. She had the AP Player of the Year. She had the Naismith College Player of the Year. She had the USBWA Player of the Year. She had the Wade Trophy. She was a two-time unanimous first-team All-American, two-time first-team All-American, two-time first-team All-American, the USBWA, three-time WBL Coaches All-American, three-time Dawn Staley Award, two-time Nancy Lieberman, two-time Big Ten Player of the Year, two times, right? She was also the scoring leader, two-time scoring leader, two-time assist leader, and academic All-American. So she was, she was that one. She's the poster, right? If you're gonna look at this, this sport, right, of women's collegiate basketball, she would be that poster for that, right? So here it is. They out there. They was all there rooting for this one here. So basically, everything I just named to you, what was missing? It's one thing missing on that list, ain't it? One thing missing. That's because she ran up on somebody else. She ran up on somebody else who was the NCAA champion of 2023. His name is Angel Reese. She was the NCAA tournament MOP. She was the unanimous, right? First All-American, first team All SEC All Defensive Player, right? Or she made the All Defensive team. So here it was. This one here, this was a matchup. So we see that this Caitlyn that had been publicizing the thing she was doing. I keep hearing people say John Cena, but John Cena told you he got that from Yayo, right? So why everybody keep saying John Cena? See, people keep saying these things ain't about race. This ain't about race. This was just about basketball. Yeah, it was about basketball. It was basketball. Now, those of us who hoop, been in championship games and stuff like that, we know how it is. Now, those who do couch potatoes, you ain't never played the game, your observation, what you see, you got your own interpretation. But when you on the court in the game, in the heat of it, and it's for the championship, this is what you done work for all year. A lot of things are being said, things are being done, and that's just how players get down. And so what then transpired was whatever she had been doing. Now, so those of us who done played before, you know that when you're in tournaments, you watch the other team, right? Because you're gonna end up playing it if you don't get in the consolation champion. We don't have that in NCAA. What they do, they have NIT, right? But that's at this stage of the game, that's already done with. But the point is, you watching them. So they watching Caitlin Clark do these hand gestures, right? You can't see me, right? And so this you can't see me turns into, she did this, right? So we see that Angel Reese gave her taste on medicine, right? But as I told you how decorated they got her on paper is, she had everything. It's kind of like when who was that was up 03 and LeBron and them came back and won. Right? You remember, right? So basically she had everything but the ring. It was like the 73-9 season. A lot of people will hold that as the greatest record ever in the NBA, but I take that 72-10 Bulls team because what's the difference? They got the chip. The 73-9 didn't win it. So what good is it having you got the winning the season, but you can't get the chip. So give me the chip, you can have the record. You get what I'm saying? So that's like her on paper. Caitlyn got everything that is acclimated as the best player. But guess what? Angel Reese went out there and said, no, this ain't, but see, Angel Reese ain't no average person. Her mama was D1 and a professional. Her daddy was D1 and played professional. She got brothers that played D1. So she is a pedigree. Let me say that one more again. That girl ain't no average player. That girl is from pedigree. Her mama was a hooper that ended up going overseas. Her mama was D1 that she ended up going overseas and play. Her daddy was D1, played at Boston College, I think, and I think he played at Loyola in Maryland, right? She got brothers that played D1, so she comes from a pedigree family. So this is the perfect person who, if you're gonna go against this one as the things that I just laid out about Caitlyn, this is the one that was supposed to come up. So again, she understands. She played with her brothers, got her game from. So you come with the shit. She coming with the shit, right? So she, saying it's about the ring, baby. It's about the ring. This is what it's about. Now you do all that, can't see me. She told you, oh, I can see you. Oh, I can see you, and I'm getting the ring too. You get what I'm saying? And so again, as I laid out all the things that go with Caitlyn, right? So they talked about, how this was the biggest, I guess, attendance and viewership of a women's championship, right? That was the biggest, right? Because they had the All-American princess, right? They was ready to parade her and show her to be what they said, this is it. They got her. right? Oh, we got a message. Hold on, we got a message. All right, you got 7 spirits in here. Peace and blessing. What's good to you, 7 spirits? What's good, brother? Okay, and so, right, she did that, right? And so it's kind of funny that when she did that, when she did it, they had all the excuses in the world to say, well, she did that because, well, that was just what it was. But let's just see some of the things that some of the people said, because again, she was their darling. You know, it's always kind of that great white hope, right? When you think about that history of ours, right? You remember I did a video for some of y'all who might have seen it. You know, Jack Johnson fought against James Jeffrey, right? First time a black man won the heavyweight world champion in this country when they did the color line to keep him from being in it. And James Jeffrey had ran from Jack Johnson all that time. Jack Johnson eventually got it, and then he said, well, you didn't beat me. Then when he got in the ring, he got what he got. Do y'all know what happened when Jack Johnson whooped James Jeffrey? They did riots on our people. Let me say that one more again. When Jack Johnson whooped James Jeffrey, do you know that white people rioted against us? They were rioting against us because they lost the championship. So many people said this wasn't about race, right? It wasn't about race. Well, all right, it wasn't about race, but boxing may seem like it's not about race, right? It's about the individual, right? But boxing is about race. When Jack Johnson whooped James Jeffries, they said they had to go out there to prove to put us back in our place. Because if he whooped in that belief in the minds, we all could whoop them. Okay. Let's say with Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury, was that about race, or was that just boxing? Mark Aguirre against Barry Bonds, was that about race? When Peyton Manning went against Cam Newton in that Super Bowl, was that about race? What about Magic and Bird? Was that about race? What about Tiger Woods versus Jack Nicklaus? Even though they is different era, but it was about taking the Golden Bear from being on the top of that #1. And we see that they all kind of things that happen to make sure Tiger can't touch it now. But he had the trajectory to do it, but some end up where his own woman beat him senseless with the damn club and knocked him senseless, right? So that didn't happen, right? What about the Serena and Billie Jean King? What about Kaepernick? Now Kaepernick by itself, but his torn is the fact that he was raised by white folks, birthed by black daddy, white mama, but they don't never talk about the black daddy. But when they attribute it to the fact that he with the white family, that they look like the black daddy is the one that abandoned him, not like his white mama didn't give him up. So they say now that the fact that you talking all this stuff, is that about race? Was that about race? What about OJ and the Ron Brown and Nicole Simpson? Was that about race? What about when LT broke Joe Theismann's leg on that Monday night? Was that about race? No, none of it, right? We assume these things. So, okay, but it was just a game. But it spilled out into the audience, those who were observing, and we're going to see some of the things that were said, right? Let's look at some of this stuff, right? Right? You had that Keith Olbermann when he said, what a fucking idiot, right? What a fuck? Wait a minute, this is a young lady. So, you pissed off because why? She did a gesture in the game, and let me tell y'all something for y'all don't know no better, right? You know, when you go back, when you start looking at the history in sports, it used to be get the touchdown, lay the ball down, come on, get up, play the next play. Then there was people like Billy White Shoe Johnson, Inky Shuffle, right? Remember they used to get in the end zone and do with the Washington Redskins. Remember when I think it was what was the name that went in the middle of the Dallas and praised up into the heavens. Can't think of his name of it. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But anyway, right? So they used to always say, "Oh, we showboating, all that showboating and all that," right? Because why? You had a problem because you can't do that, right? So, but when you get one, oh, it's nice when she's doing it. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Yeah, what is that? John Cena? No, that's Yayo. Yeah, that was Yayo on G Unit, wasn't it? No, see, colonize that. Give me that. Let me probably that. Now, John Cena did it now, right? John Cena. No, he said John Cena. John Cena done went on tour or did the tour. Hey, I got that from Yayo. But they still gonna say John Cena, right? That ain't racial either. Because you're not gonna recognize that, right? You're not gonna talk about that. So can you imagine that? That here it is, this Keith Olbermann gonna sit there and say, what a fucking idiot. What does idiot got to do with that? Might be distasteful. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you're a sore loser. What's it? All fair is war in sports, in basketball, right? That's part of the game. It's okay when you winning. Matter of fact, a lot of players tell you, shit, it's good. It's all right. If you're gonna talk in the beginning of the game, you better be able to talk at the end of the game. So don't talk in the beginning. You don't worry about getting talk or somebody saying shit to you in the end. But those of us who play and we play, that's my sixth man. I'm gonna talk you up out of that. I'm gonna talk you out your game. I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get you out your square. But that's to each his own, right? So anyway, he says that, and then it was the fact that this Barstool Dave Portnoy explodes basketball Twitter by calling LSU Angel Reese a classless piece of shit. Taunted Iowa Caitlin Clark. Let me say that one more again. Barstool Dave Portnoy explodes basketball Twitter by calling LSU Angel Reese a classless piece of shit for taunted Iowa. Now again, the other one said what a fucking idiot, and this one come back, right? He come back and he say that shit, right? He come back and say, oh, you're a piece of shit. Really? Do we see these same verbiage when it's they people out there? Do we see these, this foul language? Because see, I remember as much as we know that Charles Barkley be hamming it up, Sambo, show your hands, Charles, show your teeth, right? He be Hambo Sammying that up. But Charles done told that truth. He said some of the things they used to say to him when he used to play, they were saying it stand, right? Just like Russell Westbrook, some of the things that had been said to him, right? And he had to say, look, I'm gonna go out there and snap you up and your wife. Y'all keep talking crazy to me, right? So we know people say all kinds of things in competition, even those in the stands, and they feel like they paid to be able to do that. As long as I don't touch you, I can say whatever. Imagine what Jackie Robinson was being said to him, right? So, sports, it's kind of ugly as much as it is the enjoyment of it, but there's an ugly aspect to it, right? But the thing is, these people on the sideline who watching, again, they didn't, there was no calls in it in the game. When they finally asked that Caitlin Clark about it, she said shit, she enjoyed it because she's a competitor. I talk shit, I expect shit, talk back. Shit, I was surprised, that she came and did that. Like, damn, okay, you got me. You got me. So that's going to motivate me as a player next season. When I see you, I'm going to remind you, I'm going to get you back for that. If you're a player, when you're a player, you understand that. Now, these couch potato ass motherfuckers ain't never suited and booted and played no damn well, couldn't even make the park rec team, junior pee-wee ball. You couldn't even make that squad. But you got everything to say, and then you call somebody because you say, it's not the style you used to. It's not the way you do it. It's only nice when y'all doing it. But every time, like I said, over the centuries and going back and looking at the sports when black folks was doing what we was doing, it was always showboat. Oh, you showing off, showing your hot dog. All those terms came by when it was dealing with us. But see, if you dish the shit, you got to be able to take it. Now, I'm going to use this analogy later on about that hand. Just like y'all say this is tasteless piece of shit. Well, you see what the thumbnail showed you, right? The thumbnail is talking about what the Vatican said. Well, that's kind of like that hand when we get to it. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. So the next part went on. Again, you seen where they showed the tweet. Then I seen the original one. I think they went back and tweeted it because it just said piece of shit. When I really originally seen it, it just said piece of shit. Somehow they put that class, right? They put that, right? They put that on there, but it really was originally just piece of shit. But anyway, right? So here's the individual who said that. Matter of fact, I think I seen $1 Million Games and them was talking about because I think somehow Barstool and them was affiliated. So they came out, gave they kind of like their little, I guess you could say, disclaimer saying that, yeah, we don't appreciate what he said, but we kind of have to fuck with him because we part of this deal, but we didn't like what he said. But see, that's what happens. You get compromised. You understand? When you in those situations, you're working with people and they had to pay your check, but that's what they're going to do. They can do that to you, right? And say all kind of stuff. But then he tried to backtrack and said that Again, we stupid. You know, everybody play that game. Black people stupid. Oh, you don't understand. Everything is about race. That's not what my intent was. Well, show us on the other side. Well, we all do some shit that we don't like, that we come out and say something publicly. We're never the starter. We're the defenders. Kind of like chess, right? White always go first, and black is always in the defense, right? When you play chess, right? White the initiator, black is always on the defense. Sometimes defense is the greatest position, if you ask me. That's just me talking, right? So they get in that position of trying to recant what I said. That's not what I meant. You guys are taking it out of hand. Matter of fact, Samuel Jackson came out and told Oberman and said, well, that's not that little dick energy, right? Look at that little dick energy talking shit like that. And again, you're talking to women, black women like that, right? Again, that was in the heat of the battle. It was a championship. Ain't no, like, you know, again, I guess it's when they say Naismith, right? When they want to tell us that basketball, I remember I see somebody talking about something like they're talking about hip hop and being a guest in sports and saying, well, that'd be like telling Michael Jordan he's a guest in basketball. Nigga, we made basketball. Just because a motherfucker get to put his name, Naismith, on the motherfucking thing and say that he made it, that don't mean that niggas wasn't playing on the plantation and the motherfuckers figured out and came up with some damn shit and they stole everything else. Why when they had stole that? And shit, basketball probably go back much even further back than that. So to say that y'all created something and not be great at it, that shit sound like that. You know, you didn't make it. How you gonna be making some shit and you ain't good at it? You had to be the originator, which means y'all been doing that shit. That's why y'all always be. It looks like y'all always stealing shit. Y'all don't be good at shit. You know what you good is? Yeah, everybody knows y'all good at. We ain't gonna get into that. Right? Just like that Delbert. Remember when he came out talking about the damn poll and shit? Black Americans only if it's okay that whites are, right? 53% agree, 26 disagree, 21. He took the 26 and the 21 and said, see, 50%. Not even 50%, that's 47. But 50% of black people don't like us. And then he tried to come back and backtrack. Oh, that's not what I said. I didn't mean that, you know. Yeah, that's what you did. You said, white folks don't fuck with don't fuck with black people no more. Right? Okay, all right. So again, it's our imagination, the snuffleupagus. It ain't really what it is, just what we think it is. It ain't never what it is, right? And then you had the president's wife there, right? Right? But you know, Angel Reese calls that Jill Biden's idea to invite Iowa to White House, right? She said this. Now let me see her words. Let me show you her words. Let me show the words, right? Says, I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So we hope LSU will come. Biden, who attended Sunday's game in Dallas and said Monday in remarks at the Colorado Capitol in Denver, but you know, I'm going to tell Joe, I think Iowa should come too because they play such a good game. Now, again, the protocol has always been the champion, right? But again, look at all the backlash that came because why? Their darling got whooped. Just like when Jack Johnson beat, right? James Jeffrey. Remember when Deontay Wilder on the second one? Because that first one, it was very questionable. A lot of people saying about the way that glove was bending. And when he fought that second one, we thought he got him. We thought Deontay got him, right? But didn't, right? And then you remember, what was that one that when Mayweather told him he don't know nothing about boxing, that he told Mayweather, said, if I was about 30 years younger, I'll kick your ass, right? Remember he sung that little song in there. He was like, bye-bye, Miss American Pie. What was that about? He was telling black people, well, shit, we done took it now. We don't think y'all can produce another black person that can take it out of our hand. Tyson Fury is the best that ever to do it, right? So we get it. We understand. So y'all sore losers, right? You sore losers about the shit, right? You gotta take the shit and start. Why are you trying to look for something? Okay, ain't no consolation prize in this. It is what it was. No, you had to come and do the shit, right? So I was like, okay, but I'm kind of a little disappointed in our people. And the reason why I'm disappointed in our people is because when this sister here, right? When that sister right there, when they sat there and said that she sat there and made up that shit about race, y'all didn't have shit. I'm the only one. I am the only one who defended this girl. when Rachel went out there, I was the only one who defended her. You gonna tell me that this girl went to that dam in Utah? It was so sold out. It was the highest attended ever attended to the volleyball game in their history. They went there, her being there as a starter, and then I showed you all the stuff that being said, and they went took and got a Riri boy, right? You got to figure out what I mean. The Riri boy, they went put it on the Riri boy and said, "Nah, that's crazy." You're gonna say that the Riri boy said that to her, but it wasn't the Riri boy, because the Riri boy was in another section, but not in the section that where she was. But none of y'all was scared. Y'all wouldn't even stand with her. Y'all let them get that off on her, and so now she's been labeled with, oh, she talks about race. She made it up. She's a Jussie Smollett. Hell no. Wait a minute. You gonna tell me that the school that where it happening, that they do the investigation, and then they the one to determine, because they're gonna lose business. They the one that's gonna get marred by that, and so they put it on her. It's easy to put it on her and let her deal with it than it had been the university. So I was very disappointed at many of us who took that side or didn't say nothing. Right? That's what I'm talking about, right? Y'all didn't say nothing. See, either we gonna stand together on one, or we gonna not stand together on none. Ain't gonna be none. We gonna pick and choose. If we down with our people, and we know damn well, because wait a minute, wasn't it Russell Westbrook that was in Utah just not before that, when Kyle Korver had to come out and had that big soliloquy about that shit, about a whole racial shit? But when it was Rachel, y'all let her go down the plane, and they was trying to, it was the auntie that set her up and made her do all that. Hell no, it's just what y'all do. That's who you are. That's what y'all do. So we get it. We get it. They was hurt. You know what I'm saying? They was hurt. Again, as I told you, this girl, this Caitlin Clark, was John Wood in 2003, AP Player of the Year, Naismith College Player of the Year, the USBWA Player of the Year. She was the Wade Trophy winner, two-time unanimous first team All-American, two-time team All-American, two-time first team All-American of the USBWA, the three-time WBLA Coaches All-American, three-time Don Stanley Award, the two times Nancy Lieberman Award, the two-time Big Ten Player of the Year Award, two-time. This is all of 2023. She had everything but the championship, right? And you know what they were really believing when they seen our little sister out there? This is what it looked like to them.
She's your queen to be, a queen to be forever, a queen who'll do whatever His Highness desires. She's your queen to be, a vision of perfection, an object of affection to quench your royal fire, completely free from infection, to be used at your discretion, waiting only for your direction. Your queen to be. You can tell me what I'm doing wrong when you keep diving
back, right? So we're gonna change a little bit from that, right? We had to get that. I had to get that a little bit. I normally don't touch too much of that, but I had to get into this because, like I said, I'm appalled that we didn't say nothing for Rachel Richardson. We didn't stand behind her when we went all out. Again, I'm down for Angel Reese and the LSU team. Again, it wasn't about that, but again, the stance was people was talking crazy, talking loud, saying a lot of nothing, and we came together collectively. Nah, y'all back up off that. But where was we? I was the only one that I can say having a channel when it came to Rachel Richardson. Y'all didn't say nothing. And y'all to be ashamed of yourself. Moving on. Now, I seen this here, right? The U.S. consider asking Black Americans on census if they are slave descendants. Let me say that one more again. U.S. consider asking Black Americans on census if they are slave descendants, right? Right? Now, there's some people who've been advocating on it. Again, we kind of split on that. We're not even whole as when it comes to whether some people believe in reparations. You got some people who out there, well, we don't suppose you get on that long and pass. And you got some people, again, like I said earlier in the show, there's many of us who come from situations where we're still talking about the first person to go to college. Some even got first one to go to high school, graduate out of high school. And then there's some of y'all who got some little pedigrees or having several people. But we are all different because we all don't come from the exact same background. Some of us, we tie ourselves back to mastering them, and we came part of them groups and them organizations, and we sneakily work against our own. Yeah, we know about all that, right? Anyway, so I've seen this here, and like I said, there's many people who talk about reparations and what should be, and so there's also been an identity crisis, they say. We've been fighting for the fact that people have been, let's say, repatriated from their land. Now that they done sprouted roots here, now they clinging on to Black Americans, FBA, ADOS, Tatas Indigenous, Moors, the umbrella term that I call Black Americans, right? And so there's been this thing about distinction, not to be separate, not to be divisive, but to at least be like, let's say, okay, you, those, anybody remember the Sanford and Son? Remember when Lamont got he got, I guess you say woke, right? Lamont got woke, and then the fact was he was like, at the time he's like calling him Kalunda, and he was like, he said, you is you, and I, and that's why I love you, right? I can be me, and you can be you, and we still can have love for another. But why is it divisive if we try to make a delineation or make a distinction about we, our history, our lineage, and then the fact that there is some bill due that we're trying to acquire? Why do people feel like they need to try to be grafting on and finding ways to either not or even letting us even get it? Because matter of fact, look at how they posing that question. You consider asking Black Americans. Oh, they consider to ask us. Well, let me show you what they were saying up in here, right? I'm gonna read this one right here. The United States government is considered asking Black Americans on federal forms, including the census, whether their ancestors were enslaved. In a proposed update to how the government tracks American race and ethnicity, the Biden administration is asking the public for input on how it might go about differentiating Black people who are descendants of slaves in America from those whose families arrived more recently as immigrants from sub-Saharan Africa, the Caribbean, or other countries. The idea of adding more detailed categories to the census has been gaining currency among some Black Americans who say society too often conflates their experiences with those of Black immigrants who only started moving to the United States in meaningful numbers in the past few decades. Roughly 1 in 5 Black people in the United States are immigrants or their children, according to an analysis by the nonpartisan Pew Research Center. Supporters of the change say one reason they are pushing it is to quantify who would be eligible to receive reparation for slavery should the government ever agree to pay them. An effort to make such payments has stalled in Congress, though local efforts have gained some steam. In San Francisco, the City Board of Supervisors is debating a proposal to award eligible black residents up to $5 million per person in restitution, one of a menu of preliminary recommendations that include free homes, guaranteed income, and debt and tax relief. Research by the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis and by researchers at Duke University, among others, show that black Americans whose ancestors were enslaved tend to lag behind in wealth and education compared with more recent arrivals. America sees black people as a monolith, said Chad Brown, spokesperson for National Assembly of American Slavery Descendants, which backs reparations and is pushing for the change. When you say all black people are the same, you are ignoring the difference in culture, ancestry, economics, and you are doing a disservice to everyone lumped into that group. The potential change is one of several that the Biden administration is thinking about adopting to redefine how race and ethnicity are measured on government forms, which typically dictates how other institutions collect demographic data. The Biden administration has proposed combining existing race and ethnicity questions so that Hispanics or Latinos would no longer be a separate question, but instead would be one of several choices on the race question. It has also proposed creating a new race question category for Americans of Middle Eastern or North African heritage. Unlike for those changes, the administration didn't include a formal recommendation about identifying black American ancestry, but rather solicited comments from the public on how it might do so. Supporters of the change want an additional question should a respondent select black or African American on a government form where they could indicate that their ancestors were slaves. In its proposed rule on those broader changes, the administration asked whether the term American descendant of slave or American freedman would be the best term to describe the group. Some have suggested the term Foundation Black American. The White House Office of Management and Budget, which is spearheading the race category overhaul, declined to comment on the idea. Last year, California became the first state to require that black state employees be allowed to specify that they are African American descendants of persons enslaved in the United States. On employment forms, the law, which takes effect next year, would allow self-identification by black immigrants from Africa and the Caribbean and require that the statistics be published each year. A working group in California, which is drafting a reparation proposal for the state legislature to study, is looking at partnership with the genealogy website, including 23andMe and Ancestry.com, to potentially help verify a black person's lineage should she or he apply to receive reparations. The census and other federal surveys rely on respondents' self-reported description and typically don't ask for verification. Right? So that's the first half on that, right? So they're talking about considering to have a place on the federal forms and census, right? So you know how that work is, right? They get on the federal forms, and eventually they go to everything else, become applications, everything else. Now, there's some people who down for that, and there's some people who say, well, this, you know, we're being divisive by trying to delineate from other people. We're separating from them. See, it's like everybody can have part of our, again, there was an old movie used to come on called Cool Hand Luke. And what they did one time is they was all sitting down, took their spoon and went in his plate and took a scoop out and ate it. He didn't get to eat. That's kind of like us. Like, it's okay. I got love for anybody from anywhere else. Again, I understand, but I don't blanket the history and make us all synonymous as one. We're all distinct when it comes to that. Now, when you start talking about origins and all that, there may be that, it depending on what story you believe in. But the point I'm saying is that there's a difference. You don't call yourself Puerto Rican, right? You don't call yourself Haitian. You don't call yourself Dominican for no reason, or Jamaican or Bahamian, right? These are geographical locations. So you are distinct to the land of your lineage from the people that reside. We're not talking about a boat ride, if you want to go with that story, and that the fact that you've been dispersed. We're talking about as recently as 4, 5, 6 generations. 10 generations. Now, again, if we as Black Americans been in this country, if they want to say that count of 1619 or 400 years, a generation is about 20 years. So if you say 20 times 20, that's 400. That's 20 generations. Even if we say it might be a little less, say 15 or so, because you're going to have some people who had babies who were earlier. So we're going to say 20 generations from 400 years. So we've been here a long time. If we're going to take the boat story. Now, I'm not telling nobody to believe the boat story. I'm just saying this is what they try to purport, right? Now, we are rediscovering and finding that that story can be, well, that's for another topic for another time. But anyway, so they're saying they want to, again, get the federal form, census, and be able to check the box of being a lineage of ancestors of this land. Now, they threw in the Biden administration. Now, again, just like when you look at, matter of fact, I didn't put that in here, did I? I was supposed to do, oh, you know what? I'm going to go back at the end. I'm going to show, because you know what? Was there something political when it comes to about that game that Jill Biden came there? And then if you've seen the pictures, let me see. Can I add that? Maybe I can. Oh, let's see if I can add that. Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I can add that. Yeah, hold on. Let's see that. Yeah, let me add that. All right. I think I'm back, right? Okay. So let me show, was there some kind of agenda, something political going on? But we'll come back to that. So the Biden administration is asking the public for its input. Now, wait a minute. Why are you asking the public? Right? Think about that. It's just like when San Francisco put that $5 million out there, and then the Reverend Amos came out there and said what he said. But the fact that they put that bat light, you know, those who watch Batman and put that light when they want to signal Batman to come, or putting that 5 million per person, Black person, was like that bat signal. You put that out there, and every foul bird and unclean spirit was like, niggas getting $5 million, not on my dead body. And even the ones that came here talking about seeking asylum, what do you think they were saying? If you could have been a fly on the wall when they seen that, the shit you would have heard. You right? You know what I'm saying? The shit you would have heard. Anyway, so they say they want the public for its input. Should we be able to separate from being African, Caribbean, etc.? Wait. Why do they get an input on what we want to designate ourselves? Why are you asking them? Now that's divisive. If you want to talk about something being divisive, that's being divisive. You allow somebody else to have determined my fate that ain't got nothing to do with it. Again, is or is it not? There is no maybe. Either I am or I'm not. And you don't get to tell me whether, because, you know, there's a lot of people who will argue us and tell us, like, you know, like, say, for instance, those of us who believe that we aboriginals to this land. And then people will go at the store and talk about they Native Americans, right? And they say, well, you're from Africa. Why do everybody believe that everybody from Africa? Because they told you that. And you just say, well, I see a lot of Black folks over there, so I guess it must be where we came from. Is it possible that it went from west to east? Is it ever dawned in your mind that maybe the migration of the world moved from west to east? Maybe, right? But no, because they say, oh, we found Lucy in the ground, and everybody ran with it. Well, okay, how's it that you believe that, but you don't believe everything else they say? Could they be lying about that too? Oh, because he got all the natural resources. Well, Haiti got it too. The rest of the countries got it too. But what does it do if you can't manufacture and distribute it? It's just a rock. It's just something you got that's, you know, sparkling in gold, but you can't do nothing with it. If you can't manufacture and produce it, and then they the one regulating it, so what good is having it, right? Anyway, so the thing is, they say they want to have them to put their input, and the fact that they're talking about, they say the recent concern by Black Americans, what they talk about really about on the internet. Again, that push and talk about ADOS, FBA, taxes, this is more, and talking about you know, reparations and so forth. So they say there's been this push that's coming from this Ethernet that is saying that they want to delineate and they want to get on themselves. Now, in that story, you heard them said, according to them, they said there's 1 in 5 Blacks in the U.S. are immigrant or of children of immigrants. Let me say that again. 1 in 5. 1 in 5 is of either having they are or they are parents from. So that means, you know what I'm saying, that number can grow as we start to make more and more, as people start to make more and more. And what happens is you get watered down, right? It's kind of like that, let's say what's happening with the hip hop thing. You got hip hop and people staking their claim, putting their flag on the moon, saying, hey, it's ours because we did it. And we like, well, how can you get hip hop if you ain't got no music? Everybody want to talk about, oh, he created the merry-go-round, or he was breakdancing, but what you dancing to? If you ain't got no music, again, go to the Black American catalog and you can see the evolution of how music is coming. You can't tell me playing the stuff that we y'all come from that you getting hip hop music to make, again, tracks, samples from money of that. You ain't getting nothing, but we made it. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. But anyway, but again, the point is 1 in 5, and you know that may be alarmed because as time goes on, you know, that's going to grow as more and more people. But I think we're getting a little bit more astute, becoming more aware about preserving. This ain't about hating. It's about preserving. Because again, if it comes to determine and find out that you're not African and that you indigenous, and then you done squandered, you done squandered it and gave it away, that's what a lot of people might be coming here to do. That's why they're trying to use that. And that's why they need to have this thing here to quantify. They say, quantify who is and who's not. It's not about distinction, about quantifying that. Because again, as we go on more, we'll show you about what that Vatican said. And as I said earlier, they did a world tour to the indigenous people, but they never came here. Did y'all didn't catch that, right? So said they want to quantify who is and who's not, decide, well, again, whom we get paid for reparation if they ever decide they're gonna do it, right? So we're gonna ride this wheel, we're gonna ride this bus until the wheels fall off. Now, again, we have some of our own people cut from the same cloth. They ain't down for it. They don't give a fuck what we say. They you know, say I hear some people saying, well, we done already dealt with that and it's over with. Why are we still stuck on that? Well, again, just because something individually happened for you and things worked out good for you, but in the totality, as a group, not individually, some of us are still no better off than when our ancestors going back. I know that's hard for many. They say, oh, there's so much opportunity and things. But again, you're not in everybody's shoes. You can only speak for your own self. And the people who can't speak, some of them, you don't get to hear them. But everybody speak on behalf of them as if they are. A lot of y'all parents ran away from the hoods long time ago. So you ain't been in the hood. If you do, you driving by, you visit on holidays, you know, like Cuba on Sesame Street. I like to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there, right? You go by there, but you don't live up in there, right? So we're talking about the people who, like us, who from in there, right? But anyway, so we have to look at the fact that how did they do this anyway? When we go back and we look at this history, we talk about how they created that whole thing, how they disenfranchised us and kept us from doing stuff. And so the bank, they said, did research and said that under their estimation that Black Americans lag in wealth behind newly arrival of Black immigrants. Let me say that one more again. Now, they used a Minneapolis bank research who determined that Black Americans lag, right? The Black Americans with ancestries lag in wealth behind newly arrival Black immigrants. Now, why is that? Because a lot of them say we're shiftless, we lazy, we don't want nothing, we're looking for handouts. But let's look at this immigration game, right? Look at this immigration game. Put that back on the screen because they're looking at nothing. Hold on, put that back on the screen. So let's look at that.
Listen, you can tell me what I'm doing wrong when you keep driving.
All right, sorry about that, y'all. All right, so let's say immigrants that come to this land, they don't come under the same circumstance that Black Americans who have been here for generations. You don't come under that circumstance. Primarily, you already then had the education that comes from your land. These countries be putting these little, let's say, these little subsidiary of their companies. So you already got some kind of grounding in it already. And then when you come here, right, you paying the application fee, and then the job is bringing them in, housing them. You remember y'all seen all that when they was taking them, the migrants, and taking them, putting them big hotel. Well, who was paying for all that? If you came here with $3 or $2 or $1 in your pocket, you ain't doing that. So who's doing that? There's another game that ain't nobody really talking about, right? So they're not coming here like from the same dilapidated education and things like that. They already kind of like pre-sweetened Kool-Aid. Remember back in the day, big pre-sweetened Kool-Aid, or just add some water, got sugar in it already? Well, that's how they come in here. So to make some kind of distinction, say, well, you know, Black Americans who got ancestry, the newly arrived immigrants they fare better. They don't come under the same situation. It ain't like they just take any, meeny, miny, mo from these countries. They done vetted who's coming here. You get what I'm saying? And then you try to make statistics, and then you're the one creating the divisiveness because they don't really tell us the damn truth of their situations, right? They parents that okay, let's say for instance, you might have been a doctor, a lawyer in Africa or these other countries, but you can't be a doctor, lawyer here. You got to go back to school to read, you know, because they say, you know, white man said, no, you're not gonna come in here with that voodoo to me. You're gonna have to come and learn white man's medicine. So you still a doctor, but you're gonna have to go to school and get an update, right? So it's not like you coming like, you know, from the situation we coming from, and then we just trying to be a doctor. No. They already kind of set in that way, but nobody like to tell us that. So they sell us that, oh, they just like you. They came with nothing, came here. No, think about it. You can't go no day. Wait a minute. So why don't our poor just pick up and go these other places and say, I'm coming for a better life and refuge and seeking, you know what I'm saying, they trying to kill me. What? Can't we pull the same game? Or they don't play the same game other places, just coming here, right? Anyway, it's not divisive, y'all. I'm not divisive. I'm just telling them what the TI is. And when you say that blacks are the same, you're ignoring the ancestry, the economics, the history of being distinct people. Is that not true? Is that not true? When they try to lump us all and make us this one big nigga, as they say, right? We all just one big nigga, but then when they get angry, they'll tell us how we don't have culture and we don't have this. But when it comes to get some good shit, oh, we black. Stop it, man. And we know why they don't want us to separate, because then you can't eat off that table no more. You can't get them things that we didn't know y'all had been getting in our name. You know, it's like kind of find out that your mama day that had a table in your name, light bills in your name, but they needed to survive at that time. And their shit was already fucked up. So what they did is they use your shit, right? And then when you get older, you try to get something, they say, hey, you got a bill, you know, like $1,200. $1,200. I was only 5 years old when, well, that's what it says. So you go back to your parents and tell them, right? Hey man, you've been using my shit in my name. So that's what happened now. And what happens when you go back and tell them they got to pay that $1,200 back? They angry at you. I ain't got no money to pay. That was way back then. We figured out a way how to do this, right? I'm not saying that it's right, but that's kind of like what's happening with our situation. People are getting to co-sign in our names and getting benefits and getting schooling and getting funding and getting housings and things like that. And then when they tell us, when they give you the whole number, they say, well, we gave the black people, look, but they're not breaking it down into the categories so we can see directly what them statistics are talking about. I know him up on there. Not people not gonna like that. I know they're not gonna like that. It's all right. It is what it is. And so they also talked about how there's some advantage of families with cultures and traditions that like we don't have. They say they have culture. I mean, that's like Burna Boy was saying what he was saying, right? Oh, the Chinese is respected, and that's all because he knows who he is and his people. We know who our people is. Many of us can go back 4, 5 greats in our family now that we done did some research. So I don't know what you're talking about. The problem is we don't know y'all story. Everybody got the same Martin Luther King, the same Rosa Parks, the same Frederick Douglass. We like, damn, Frederick Douglass there too? Y'all got the same shit we got. Like, damn, really doppelgangers, huh? The real ones, huh? Where's y'all story at? No, let me get off that, right? So again, they say that the Biden administration is trying to symbolically, right? He wants something for blacks by announcing this, right? When you tell in the story talking about the Biden administration, well, you know what that is? That's poking at the Democrats, those who want to still be Democrats, right? It's all the same to me, but I'm just saying when they say in the Biden administration, we don't care about that none of that shit. What you talking about? We ain't playing that old game of the chicken dinner and the reverend talk about that and we go out and vote. We asking what you got in the bag. What you got for me? See, because we're getting more astute and getting politically stronger as to know how the game go, nobody want to deal with us. So that's the one thing when you look at the Jill Biden, some people are saying that, I want y'all to see the picture. I'm gonna go back to what we're talking about. I don't want to miss this point. They said that when you looked at that picture, right? Let me show you that picture they were showing at that game. You see who all in there, right? They said a lot of them is them sergeants and lieutenant of that alphabet 1, 2, 3 group. A lot of them is in there. So they, you know, when you think about women's basketball, right? You know, how we say this? You know, there could be, right, those advocates that be in that group. You know what I'm talking about, right? And so this is a good ground for that. And so who they had in there? Well, I see there was some Billie Jean King sitting up in there, right? They said a lot of them. So they said that they trying to recruit that, what's her name? Caitlyn? Just like Bruce Jenner's Caitlyn, right? Caitlyn, right? Okay. It kind of has some of them features a little bit if you ask me. But that's just me talking. So, right? So they trying to find out, well, maybe they trying to recruit. And then again, as Ann Coulter said in the beginning, talking about how the Hispanics was replacing the blacks. And now, again, they want to get another group. So that way they don't have to deal with us. So when you talk about tangibly, they don't have to, they got the newly immigrants, the old immigrants, and then they want to get the LGBT group. And then that way they don't have to really deal with us. And they and get the reverends to pork chop the rest of y'all that follow pastor all the way to the coffin. That's, you know what I'm saying? That's what they want to do. But okay, so anyway, so was that what they do? Were they proselytizing? Is that what they're doing? They're gonna get her and make her the poster child? Because again, remember when I read her credentials, she won everything you could win in 1 year when it comes to basketball, except for the chip. She had it all, and they was there. Could you imagine if she won? If she would have won? Oh, you remember when Ronda Rousey, how they took her shit? She was in the movie with Sylvester Stallone and Van Diesel. Like, damn, they just made her, she's a real American. She's a real American, right? She was a real American, right? Like, damn. Until that little hungry Latina tore that ass up. She ain't been right ever since. Huh? She ain't been right ever since. But anyway, so I'm telling you, that's what they do. They got her. They got her for some reason. They trying to get her because to say that they will go to the White House and they need to bring them to, that ain't the protocol. So, well, we don't care about what this LSU want to talk about. We really trying to recruit you because, see, you the next hottest white thing we got. You know what I'm saying? We need that. And the fact that it's possible she could be part of that group. So, you know what I'm saying? There's politics in that. So I agree with that. Some of them talking about that. I agree with some of that. But let's get back to this thing. I just want to bring that to attention. Just in case the United States government is considered asking Black Americans on federal form. They was out there. They was ready to recruit. You take it or leave it alone. You know, some people won't get out of here. They don't want to hear that. But as I said in my last show, that the one I did, and I gave you the history of the 50 years of them been proselytizing, them been really pipering at us. It's been 50 years. And guess what that Title IX is? That Title IX came out in 1972, 1973 too. So I didn't put that in there. But that was what they was talking about at that game. They're talking about Title IX. And the people who signed that Title IX, the woman who did it, when you trace her, she's going to the LGBT. So this has something to do with that. I don't disagree with some of the people who saying that. But it was racial in the elements of the people who on the outside speaking about her being angry because they destroyed what they were trying to do. Like I said, that's what Miss Reese did. She disrupted that. And they were angry about that. So let's look at the fact when you look at the application, the whole application, right? It's just this: white, Hispanic, Latino, right? Spanish, Black or African American. Asian, Indian, right? So you see the choices that they have when you go and you put on them applications, right? So it's really vague. And it's not really deep in this. It's like, okay, black, African American. Well, if I'm black, so everybody say, well, it's about color of skin. Oh, African American. Is that okay? So, all right, no. So they need to change it so it can be more identifying. Because when you leave it vague like that, you let people come to ride off, just like again, Ann Coulter said, that people are commandeering everything that our ancestry and what they built and what they died trying to establish. Everybody eating and we can't eat. So if we start to make it strict and distinct, everybody not gonna eat now. It's only gonna get those who gonna eat, and so that means other people getting mad and they don't want that. Matter of fact, listen to this dude, what he said on the second part of this reading. This one gonna be shorter than the first one. Listen to this. Mike Gonzalez, a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation, a conservative Washington think tank, said subdividing the black population in the United States is a harmful step that would further divide American society. Government shouldn't be in the business of separating people by immutable characteristics, he said. Mr. Gonzalez, who has written extensively on issues of race, said he favors reinstating a question removed after the 1970 census that asked respondents to list whether their parents were born. Using that information, he said, researchers could group categories as they wish. If the slavery-related change were adopted, it wouldn't only be used on the census, but also on forms that America encounters on a more routine basis, such as applications for federal student loans and home loans. So far, thousands of members of the public have left comments on the proposed race category overhaul. Michael Hicks, an administrator of the historically black college in Louisville, Kentucky, recently logged into a government website and typed up a 400-word comment in favor of the change for black respondents. Mr. Hicks said he became interested in supporting politicians who would directly represent the interests of slavery descendants after becoming disillusioned with former President Barack Obama. During Mr. Obama's presidency, Mr. Hicks said many black Americans felt left behind as their neighborhoods gentrified and their incomes couldn't keep pace. According to surveys conducted by the Federal Reserve, black families' wealth is less than 15% of white families' wealth and lower than any racial group. His election and his presidency was landmark, but it didn't help most black Americans except symbolically, he said. Mr. Hicks and other supporters of this designation have pointed out that Mr. Obama isn't or descended from slaves. His father was an international student from Kenya and his mother white. If America wants the resources to go to the population that needs them the most, we must accurately recognize who is affected and why. Mr. Hicks wrote in the comments in support of a new category. The government proposal comes in midst of a broader debate among black Americans over how much experience the descendants of people enslaved in the United States share with those whose family came to America voluntarily. Many black immigrants say they face much of the same discrimination, particularly at the hands of police. Black people from Africa were also brought to the Caribbean and Latin America as slaves. But many of those whose ancestors were enslaved in the United States believe they should be considered a distinct ethnic group. That belief is based at least in part on the limited data showing that black immigrants and their children on average find higher paying jobs and accumulate more wealth than people whose families have lived there for decades or centuries. Several studies suggest that black immigrants and their children are overrepresented on elite college campuses, particularly if they immigrated from the African continent. Because the black population isn't systematically categorized along such lines, research on this or these outcomes is limited. There still is a lot we don't know, and it would be easier to start knowing who's those things if we could better document the black population, said Camille Z. Charles, a professor of sociology and Africana studies at the University of Pennsylvania, who has researched black students' populations at elite schools and support more detailed data collection. All right. So that was the second half of that reading there, right? So They talk about Latinos and Spanish as a one question, and along with the North African, Middle Eastern. But they didn't have anything formally when they said anything to dealing with Black Americans, though. See, again, what they call benign neglect, right? Benign neglect. It's a policy, right? It's really a public policy that they do in government. They always give us the symbolic gestures. They're always telling us things that sound good or promises they ain't gonna keep. So they talking about, in one aspect, they said, well, you know, we're gonna just do some surveys and see whether people are gonna go, but we're gonna actually formally change when it comes to the reform, the Latin Spanish, and make it one question. And when it comes to those of North African, Middle Eastern. But we want public opinion when it comes to you guys. Now you got to ask yourself, why is that? Why they don't want to be distinct and direct when it comes to us? Again, everybody keeps saying we Africans, right? You keep saying that. But are we? Are we? A lot of people are going to be amazed one of these days when all that truth come out. You've been praising and saying it and then trying to make us feel guilty. Like they don't make nobody else out of all the people of the so-called diaspora or the people of the Americas, right, or the Latin worlds. They don't push that on them about being African. It's just we as Black Americans, and because we won't embrace it, or we trying to say that this is our home and these are the land of our ancestors, that somehow we hate Africa. But wait a minute, if we take that story about what took place, who hated who first? Just imagine you as those who might, this is hypothetically speaking, and if somebody should be, this is nothing slight at you. But let's just say that you were adopted. Your parents sold you off for adoption. And you grew up with another family. And that family treated you like shit. And you went through hell. You had to go through that and raise up. Now, when you get older and then you get inquisitive and say, you know what? Let me find out who the hell was the people that did this shit to me. Okay, you find them. Now, is it under your discretion whether you accept them or not? You have to accept them. You don't have to accept them. And why people have forcing us based on the story y'all tell, if you did that to us, it's under our discretion. So if the child has been sold and went through hell and decide they don't want to fuck with you no more, you got to accept that shit. You got to accept it. Why y'all can't accept it? And why is everybody trying to make us go somewhere else and then get everybody coming here? Y'all better pick up on game. Y'all better pick up on that, man. Y'all better pick up on that. Everybody's selling you, oh, you can take your American dollars and you can go over there. But what happens when you can't get no more American dollars? So they say, again, they don't want to do anything formally, right? That's official. But they offering to allow the public opinion to decide if that anyone can agree to our position. And then they like to talk about how there's those who advocate, let's say, to be specific about Black American terms. Again, in that article, it talked about ADOS, it said American Freeman. Now that Freeman is good when it comes to documentation, right? When you talk about 1865, when you talk about how they made the Freeman Bureau, that's documented. That's in the books. That already went through the process of Congress, right? So when we create a new term that got to go through the process, say now we're starting all over again. So I can understand why some people say Freeman, because it's already in the books, right? And once you can prove that you come from those lineage and the places of the 13 rebel nations, it's for them to prove that we from Africa. Think about it like this. It's not for us to prove that we from Africa. If we say this our land and this and all my ancestry, you find the African in there and you show it to me. If you can't, then I am indigenous to this land. It's for you to disprove it. I don't have to prove that I'm from Africa. You do. It's your story. It's the one you told everybody. It's the one you sold with roots and come to find it was a plagiarization of a white man book. Well, what was his real story yet? So why you was trying to sell that to us? You get what I'm saying? We're going to have to really go up on the fine tooth comb and start looking at some of this stuff, y'all. We can't just take their word. We know they lie. And so with that being said, well, just stay tuned. We're gonna get to that. And so, again, they also talk about some suggest FBA. Now, we know FBA is a term that's come up that came derivative out of the ADOS, and then that fraction that happened there. And then we know the person who created the FBA. A lot of people like that term. But I'm just saying, when it comes to already in the books, we have to go with already, because, again, as more time goes on and more people from other people seem to get in this politics, it's going to be even harder and harder. That's why I'm an advocate of HR 40. I'm an advocate for HR 40. I know people saying about the study, but you got to give John Conyers already got that on the books. It's sitting there right now. He's got enough people. Don't even really need no support. It just need to go to the floor. And I just noticed, if y'all didn't see that what's her name? What's her name? She's Jamaican. What's that woman name? Now, she done took over the HR 40. They done took John Conyers' name off, because John Conyers did that back in 1989, right? They done went Sheila Jackson. That's her name. They done went and put Sheila Jackson, and they done took out Conyers, and now they said that the bill HR 40 started in 2021. Did y'all know that? That's slick. That's real slick. You went and changed so that it had been now, instead of had been sitting, see, 89, 90, what is that? Over 30, almost 30 years. So now it looked like it only been sitting for 2 years. I bet y'all didn't even catch that. So we have to ask ourselves, why you do that? Why you take his name off? Why you trying to put your name on it, and then you're gonna now fast forward the clock to 221 instead of it had looking like it's been sitting for over almost 30 years. Now it looks like we just did this yesterday. That's what I'm saying. We have to be careful of these people and everybody that we just say everything is our skin, our kin. Because what is the real purpose of that? What is the real purpose of Sheila Jackson taking John Conyers off and putting it in now, making the time 221? You don't believe me? Go look at the HR 20. I'm following it. So I know the next step that they already had a vote recently. The next step is getting it to the floor so that we can see those who oppose against it, because I know a lot of people say it's just a study. Well, how else you gonna get the money? How else you gonna get the money? How did the Japanese get the money? They didn't have no study. I guess you didn't see the show I produced and showed you what they did to get the money. Get what I'm saying? You're gonna get the money from the government. You know, there's a process, there's a protocol, right? So John Conyers already set that up. It's our job to force them to do that. But to say, oh man, it's a study. All right, well, how else you gonna get in there? Right? I understand we can advocate, we can push, right? But he did something. And obviously it meant something that they went in there and now they even took the longevity off and tried to make it brand new. And then they look who they used to do it. And this one I just seen trying to run for mayor in Houston. Right? But she can do, I think you can be federally and you can work state. So you can have two positions. But she's the holder of that, and ain't nobody talking about it. But when it come back around for this political stuff, they're gonna mention it again. But it should have already been to the floor. Push it to the floor. You don't need no more sponsors. You just need to push it. Ain't nobody pushing for it. So they said, oh, we blew it off, they blowing it off. So you gotta push for what's already in there. Ain't no need to make the wheel all over again. It's already been made. So anyway, again, they're talking about allowing public opinion to decide, and the fact that they talked about the office management and budget. Now, that's the department that oversees when it comes to start dealing with all this stuff. And so when we're looking at how they're going to now use, when you're talking about identifying, now look at your screen. Now on your screen there is showing now if people had to mark how they identify, wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be more truthful if you did it this way? That, okay, you're trying to say, like people will say, I'm black, and you know damn well, y'all not black. We're not talking about skin color. We're talking about people being identified in a nation. Now, I know there's going to be those who argue about black and what he talks about in the law. We're just talking about how they have identified us as that group of people. Everybody know they come from the geographical location, and even those who've been replanted, right? Like your lineage came from somewhere else, and then all of a sudden you being born here. All of a sudden now you here, you just like me, right? That's what you say. Well, I'm just like you. Well, okay. So you see, like it says, white. They got German white, Italian white, Irish white, Polish white, English white, French white, right? So all white ain't the same. There is a distinction, right? Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish, right? Mexican or Mexican American, Salvadorian, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Colombian, right? And if you're not part of them, you write in the other ones. If you don't got a box for you to check, write in where you come from. So when you go to Black or African American, right? African American, Nigerian, right? So you be a Black Nigerian, a Black Jamaican, a Black Ethiopian, a Black Haitian, a Black Somalian, right? Right? And even if you born here, your lineage still take you. You are your parents, right? And so what people have been slick is, well, they try to use, well, my parents was born here. They've been here 2 generations. So no, you know damn well you are from the Dominican. Your lineage, your ancestry is in the Dominican. You have more people outside of here than you do have here. Why nobody wants to claim who they are? Why infringe on something that you know somebody else? It's not to take nothing from you. It's just the fact that, you know, you've been uprooted. You like taking a plant from Africa and then taking it and planting it here, and now say that the plant origin is from here. And they say, when they do the history, they say, no, the origin of that plant it grew in Africa first, but they brought it here, right? So maybe the fact that when they take that oath, you ever heard the oath that they take? Have you ever heard the oath that they take when they go and when they get their citizenship, right? Listen to this. I hereby declare on oath that I absolutely and entirely renounce and abjure all allegiance and fidelity to any foreign prince, potentate, state, or sovereignty, of whom I have heretofore been a subject or citizen, that I will support and defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will bear arms on behalf of the United States when required by law, that I will perform non-combatant service in the armed forces of the United States when required by law, that I will perform work of national importance under civilian direction when required by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion, so help me God, right? So when you take that oath, so now when they say that I'm Black American, that's what they talking about. I made allegiance, I said that I am this, right? So based on this and that contract or that solemn oath that you took, if they got a problem with somebody, you got a problem with it. Let me tell you this one more again. When this country got a problem with somebody, they got a problem with somebody. Does that answer for some of the stuff that we be talking about? I'll put that back up there. You put that back up on this. I've got a message too. Hold on. We got a message. Hold on 1 second, right? Sharon Washington. I was born here, but my ancestors were the slaves of the. Okay, I'm gonna put that up there so everybody can see that, right? I was born here, but my ancestors were the slaves of the. Right, both sides. Okay, right. But there's some people who will take that what you said and it's offensive to them and saying that like we're taking something from them, but they don't realize they're taking from us. And then there's a lot of people who are upset with us because we advocate and we don't let people infringe, and that we will stand and defend that. Because again, going back, it was not, let's say, it was taboo for us. We just let people do what they did because we didn't want to rock the boat, because we wanted the unification. We wanted to have the brothership and sistership. But what happened over time is people done got slick. People done been here. They just studied. They just you know what I'm saying? They just stuck out the joint. They done figured out, okay, you know, we could do this, we could take this, we could do that. And so if you just sit there and you just watching the motherfuckers stealing and robbing your damn house, that's your problem, right? That falls on you. It's up to you to be like, nah. But see, if we said it, I'm hearing people saying, well, we're white supremacists. They putting us all kind of like, what the hell is you talking about? How the hell are you saying that we white supremacists because we say that we're not gonna allow somebody just to run up all over us and run up on and taking all my shit. Y'all crazy as hell. But some of them, I think what it is a lot of people, and I'm just saying this, there's a lot of people who say, but they will never reveal who they really are. They'll play the game. I'm from New York. They'll play the game. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you come to New York, right? Because there's a lot of people, because again, that being the hub of immigration and coming in and so forth. And so they've been here a generation or two, but they count the fact that they, on their birth certificate, they get to say they were born here in the United States. But then, you know, your mama and grandmama and going back is something else. So that is where your lineage come from. That ain't taking nothing away from you. But why take something from me when everything that everybody acquires that come here, you must come through us to get it. Otherwise, you don't get nothing. And nobody wants to respect that. Everybody want to act like, no, man, that's not true. So Sister Sharon Washington says again, I agree. I sent 2 messages. One has a link to a video just before that one you read. Okay. I just see that. They didn't show that one if you did, sister. If you did do that. But see, the point is, yeah, take that out. So as you see on your screen, that application is making a distinction. It's not making us being divisive. It's just saying, hey, man, we these people. You know, like every place you go to, the indigenous people, the people of that land, the native of that land, you wouldn't go over there to infringe on them and try to tell them who they not and try to infringe on them. That would be disrespectful. That would be wrong. So why do people feel like they do that to us? And then there's some people, when they get angry, they'll start saying, now this is the white man's land. Now, y'all ain't did nothing. You ain't, you know what I'm saying? They start going, it's like, wow. So we can kind of understand why sometimes in some of these other places that why y'all struggle for unification. We can see it, because I'm not saying all and everybody that come here, but there's a lot of y'all that come here. I ain't gonna say a lot. I'm saying there's those who come here, and sometimes you'll hear some of the things they speak out openly, and it's like, why y'all talking like that? Why? I mean, damn. Let's say hip hop. Let's just say that, okay, about that whole thing about New York and the hip hop. Who would you say, if you had to be honest about it? Okay, if you said somebody's a DJ, what records are you using to DJ with? Now, when you look at the Black Americans catalog of music, you can see where our music is evolving from. But how are you telling me your music can make that music? Just because you sing it, you rap it, you might even dance to it. But without the music, you ain't got nothing. If you're talking about rapping, with black people, I think when it comes to spitting that game, I think we have some of the best orators that the world has ever seen. Right? There's some runner-ups, some other people. There's some runner-ups, but I'm talking about when the black woman, the black man speak. You understand? Yeah, I know we speaking English, and it's coming to find out that maybe English was our original language, but that's a dispute for another time, for another topic. But the point I'm just saying is, give us, you know what I'm saying, like Cinque and Amistad, give us free. Give us free. Give us our shit. No, you don't want to do that. All right, so fine. So my thing is, you know, the distinction in this whole thing when it comes to that, it has to be done, y'all. And those who is thinking that we're being divisive, it's not being divisive. It's setting up for the long game for when they ever get to that point, and some of us may be gone when that happens, but that is setting up for our people and our descendants and those to come. This is what it's for. So why would y'all want to infringe on that? Y'all know who y'all really are. You know you don't come from, I mean, I get it. I get it. When you look at the things that we have done and the things that have, and the people that come from us, I get it. But damn, man, I really think it's disrespectful. And we can't have unification if you're not willing to respect all and everything that we haven't done, and should be appreciative of what you have garnered from it. But when you start infringing and taking it, we're supposed to become defensive. And those people who cut from the same cloth and thinking that we somehow attacking, we're not attacking. We're just securing. We're protecting. Right? And so when I read that second part there, the person who they said his name was Mike Gonzalez of the Heritage Foundation, which is a think tank, right? And here he is, Mike Gonzalez. Now, what is a Gonzalez, right? Everybody know what a Gonzalez is, right? You know what Gonzalez is. So why is Gonzalez worrying about if we as the black population, and if we start to, subdividing, it will bring harm and will cause further divide? Wait a minute, how is it further divide when this is our house? Who are we dividing against? How are we dividing? Who are we dividing against? If you come in here in my house and I'm making the distinction about me and mine, like saying, okay, this is my orange juice and that's your shit over there, right? Okay, we still living together. We still live in the house, but that's just mine, and you know that's mine, and I know that's yours. So how's it divisive? And why is the Gonzalez worried about that? Because why? Like Ann Coulter said, commandeering, LGBT commandeers, immigration commandeers, the white woman commandeers, right? All kind of people commandeer on the things that when this country had to give up rights, but they claim they gave up rights, it comes through the blackness, the black people. So it looks like to me, everybody gets in a huddle and trying to figure out how to way to keep us out so they can all get, and then get mad and call us all kind of names and saying we all this and that because we say we're tired of y'all stealing. And it's just what it is. I don't care who don't like it. Tell me I'm wrong. Show me that I'm wrong. I didn't say everybody, right? I didn't say everybody. So this Gonzalez goes on and he said it would be better than if they went back to the 1970s on a question answered about where your parents is from, and then it would be better to use that instead of just making them mark what they are. What's the difference? What's the difference if you had to put down where your parents is from? Because that's still slick talk to me if you want to look at it. If you say, again, somebody who's been here for 2 generations and say their parents have been here. So when they put down, say that their parents are from the United States, is that telling the truth? Is that really telling the truth of who your people really are? Or that's just a technicality you're trying to use to, again, plant yourself here to make you more than what really it is? Yes, you're here to get the benefit. Yes, you came here seeking asylum. Yeah, okay, maybe you're part of the territories of colonization and you was able to use the dual citizenship. But y'all not respecting Black Americans' plight, Black Americans' history, and all the things that have come through those stripes and torns that we've gone through. And so if y'all like that and you feel that way, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, why do we feel this way? Why do we feel like that? But nobody's gonna really have that conversation. They don't really want to do that. So anyway, finish this up. He said, if changes happens once they are the federal, once they get into these federal forms, and then it'd be like the schools and loans and right. So again, if you make the delineation and you make it where everybody's identifiable, then we'll know who's getting their lion's share. That we'll find out who's getting more and who's getting less. If you start making it, let's say the categorization, as you see, being Black, African, Jamaican, and so forth, and then they got the box of those who's getting what they're getting, then we'll know that if Black Americans being 50 million people, right, being 50 million, then there's no way when it comes to tally them numbers up that we should get the lion's share of the cut of that pie. But if everybody else is getting and then our numbers are smaller than all the rest of the numbers, then there's some wrong going here. And why would y'all want that to happen to us? And y'all saying we're supposed to be family and we're supposed to be the same. Well, I got another message up here. They're bringing them down as we speak. Because of this, they want you to stay at the bottom. Waken and Jacob YouTube channel. Okay, I got that. Okay, I'm gonna check that out, sister. I'm gonna check all that out. Yeah, that's why they keep that right. I've been doing this for 11 years. And by me doing what I do and what I've been saying over the years, there was a point in time where I could get thousands and thousands, tens of thousands. But when I did that video April 1st, 2014 about the extinction of the white race, and I wasn't talking about us killing them, I was talking about the coming catastrophe that y'all all now speak about when it comes to white people birth rates and being low. I called that 11 years ago. I was the first one to do that 11 years ago, and they penalized me from that. So if you like what I say and what I do, subscribe, share, all that stuff, because I've been doing this for 11 years. I watched a lot of y'all come in that got channeled. I seen all of y'all come in, and I seen all of y'all pass me. And not one time did anybody say, hey man, that brother been over there doing that, and he ain't changed his message. He been the same message from day one. And you didn't think they ever come and say, hey, Mr. Blow Your Mind, why don't you come over here and collab on my channel with me? You think they do that? No. Because a lot of them just for the dollars any damn way. See, if I was for the damn money only, right, then again, I wouldn't say the things I'd be saying. But I do it because I understand what needs to be said sometimes. And I know they're not going to promote this because they know they're not making no money off it, and they don't want the message gone. So it's for y'all to help their time, share, and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we ain't going to cry. We're going to keep on pushing. Because, see, many people would have been broken by now. That shows you the testament of the strength that I have. I've been doing this 11 years, y'all. 200 views, can't get. I better just be getting over 100 lately. But I've been doing this for 11 years. Oh, man, maybe you were talking about nobody want to hear. Well, maybe they want to promote it. You ever thought about that? And most people who did, I've seen a lot of brothers, Dawa, who just passed away not too long. I remember when I seen him before he even got on YouTube. That brother Dawa Israel, right? That brother had a message. He was doing what he was doing, but they were gonna never hear that message. So he just kept making channels, keep getting knocked down there. But nobody, I think Lisa Cabrera had a collab with him once. But other than that, they don't do that because you're gonna threaten their channel. Right. So, but anyway, I ain't here to knock that. But anyway, so let me go ahead and move on with that. So again, like they're saying, do we need a distinction when it comes to that? Do we need to make, when we marking these forms and stuff, about who's who? And if we do, why is that a problem? Why do people think that we're being divisive and we don't want to be this and that cause all kind of damn names, yet don't respect what we endure generationally? We're talking about 20 generations, 15 to 20 generations we've been here. We ain't new to this. We've been true to this. As a matter of fact, y'all learn a lot from us. Instead of taking it going back, you take it and then y'all take it, then you say, but figure out how to steal it from you. And I think that's nefarious, but that's just me talking. So let's move on, get to the next thing. Let me take this message. Let me see this message we got in here. You can use, I'm gonna put it in there. I'm gonna put it in. I'll make sure, because last time when you was here, sister, I tried to get it to you, and right out of click, I said, I did not give Sharon that. I'm gonna make sure you get it today. Make sure. If not, I'm gonna tell you. So let's go to the next one and let's move on. I got you though covered, Sharon. I got you covered. Let's go to the next one and let's go. They messed it all up over here, huh? Okay. Let's go.
I want you to keep on lifting me up. You inspire me. I want you to keep on lifting me up. You inspire me.
I got another message. Let me see that message real quick. Okay, they blocked my shit. Yeah, I know. They be blocked. Yeah, I don't even be getting no comments on my videos. There is no comments other than the brother that comes in, the brother that gives the donation. Other than that, I don't get no comments. Never no comments. Okay, all right, I get it. I get it. So anyway, y'all remember about a week or two ago when he was talking about in Mississippi, when talking about Jim Crow is resurrected in Mississippi, right? Remember that show I did, or maybe you might have read it or heard it from other places, right? Well, they passed that, right? Mississippi House passes controversial House Bill 1020, sent to governor as session near end. Let me say that one more again. Mississippi House passes controversial House Bill 1020, sends to governor as session near ends, right? So here it is in Mississippi. They must come back with the Jim Crow laws, right? You know, when you look, sometimes you got to look at the way that they be writing stuff up, right? When they say 1020, right? 1020. You say 1020, what is 1020? When you talk about police, that's what's your location. The angel number, when you talk about 1020, is you will expect some great changes in your life that will bring revolution to the future life. Let me say that one more again. The angel number of 1020 is that you will expect some great changes in your life that will bring revolution to your future life. Responsibility, stability, resonate with self-care. When you're looking at I think it's called gematria, right? Gematria. 1020 is to stay tuned. When you're looking at the Jewish gematria, it means ancient Egyptian blood. Letter to Trump. Take a threat to democracy. Symbol of the Rothschilds. I can't do this anymore. Avengers Endgame. Blatantly getting killed. A ray of sunshine. Bury the hatchet. Satan's lullaby. In English, it's World War III. It has been started. We are the storm. Divine bloodline, snake in the grass. That's what 1020 can represent. Now, this 1020, when they're talking about here in this Mississippi, again, they voted on this 1020. It was 72-41. So they're going to take it to that Governor Tate Reeves. And the Democrat leaders, I guess that were participant of this, they said they're going to file a lawsuit or legal action, a cause of action, and said that this bill must first, before they can file this course of action or cause of action, once they enact the law, then they can file the lawsuit. So it has to be implemented first before they can do it. So that means some damages can be already started before they can even go back, go through that and vote and get it repealed or lawsuit, whatever it's going to be. But if they're going to fight this in the same place, because let me show y'all something. What's good, B Mac? I see you, brother. Salute to you. Let me show you something when it comes to this thing here. This is okay. It's called this here. You see here on the screen, CCID, which is the Capital Complex and Improvement District. So this is a district in Jackson, Mississippi. That what they've done is they use, it's a term called home rule. Some of y'all might know what home rule is, right? Home rule. Home rule is the same thing as how what they call a municipal corporation. When you go back in history, when you look at, again, let me show you here, like when they talk about, see this area, you see this map on here? What they did is they were able to get this restricted and called home rule, and then it's like a city inside of a city where they get to have the jurisdictions of the courts, the police, right? I think they get there's some other seats they get. And normally these would be elected seats. These would be positions of elected, but they done took away their power of being able to do that and use home rule. So when you go back and look at how they did us back in the South, when they said they did the when they created the set my mind what they call it, okay, what it was, it did come out as I say. So what they did is they created, because when they gave us those lands after the war, they put us in the unincorporated areas. And so they took home rule away from us, and then they created the municipal corporation, made us under their jurisdiction, and then they was able to disenfranchise us by not able us when they did the poll tax and all that stuff, and that's what slowly took that away from us. So here that is again in 2023 doing it to the people in Jackson, Mississippi. And what they're going to also do is they're going to expand. It's the same thing when you look at this colonization, that when they talk about the United States, when you talk about that Constitution, because that Constitution was really for the original 13 colonies, and what they did is they expanded those 13 colonies to make the United States become under that. That's how they pulled that game. So really, when you look at this, this is about real estate. Because what we're going to go to lastly is what the Pope talking about as to really the falsification and the real bullshit, how they've been doing it. But because of how long this game been going, it ain't going to be that easy just to, even if you know the truth and you know what it is, you ain't going to be able to just get them to just walk away. Like some people out here talking about it, they make it seem like they're just going to pick up and walk away. And so this thing that they're creating is going to include the entire city when they get done with it. They said that the local leaders had opposed this, but it didn't stop it from happening. Now, Jackson is a majority black city, but now it's going to be run by a majority white state government. As I said, a city inside of a city. And so they're going to do is they're going to create a city council. They're going to make their city managers. And then they just going to be within the confines. So that means what they said they want to do is, because they believe that they're having a lot of crime, a lot of people are going to go to prisons for misdemeanors. Let me say that one more again. Under this jurisdiction of what they're creating, right? They're going to be able to arrest you and lock you in prison on misdemeanors. Now we know that, damn, didn't Mississippi have the water? They got the water crisis and all that other stuff. Now you're going to come with this on top of that? So if, like I said, if people are thinking that none of this stuff is real and that people are playing chess and putting things in position, remember I did the show talking about technically federally slavery still in existence, what was it called, the Corwin Amendment, that's been on the books. They went through Congress, they made that, right? And I told you all they got to do is get the states, if they get 3/4 of the states and the states say slavery back. Remember that the 15th, 14th Amendment said slavery exists unless you go to jail. Well, all they got to say is they want slavery back, and it's already sanctioned. Congress can't do nothing about it. The court system can't do nothing about it. So it's all ran by state. We're state property. You know what I'm saying? We state property. And so we have to be mindful and keeping a watch, because things can always happen, and they always do. So let me show you how they did all this. Now, this is what we're going to get to this part here. Let's get to this. Let's go ahead and get here. All right, let's go get it. All right, let's go there. Vatican rejects doctrine that fueled centuries of colonialism. Okay? Once again, Vatican rejects doctrine that fuels centuries of colonialism. Okay? Now, what doctrine is that, Mr. Blows Your Mind? You ever heard of doctrine of discovery? Doctrine of discovery. Right? That's what they use to justify colonialism or imperialism and how they was able to do what they did. Now, this came out because there had been cries from the so-called indigenous people. And it's funny that, have y'all ever noticed that when they talk about indigenous people, it's always them same looking people, the ones that they claim is supposed to be the Native Americans? Like, wait a minute, where's the black indigenous at? There is no black, other than the fact they give Africa what it is, and everybody else has to be, you came off a boat, right? You couldn't have been. Now remember, they knew nothing, according to their history, they knew nothing across that Atlantic water. They thought the world was flat and that you would fall off, right? But you could tell me that some other people from India, from Asia, could go across the Bering Strait. And if you've seen the show that I did on the Bering Strait, it is impossible for anybody to come across. And you talking about they came across that tundra of ice all through that. It's impossible. And they know it's impossible. But when you've been brainwashed with something and you tell a lie long enough, there are people sit right up in your face and tell you they indigenous people. And I'm asking this not to be facetious. I'm asking, how is it? Okay. Are we trying to say that different people was around this world and all these people are original people, or are these derivative of combinations of things that then happen through albinisms and all kinds of things, that one source was one and from that one source many came from it? Because these people will argue you down and tell you they're original people. We look like, what the hell are you talking about? Either because there's no way you can make me, but I can make you. Let me say that one more again. There's no way you can make me, but I can make you. So how you indigenous? You might be migrating from somewhere, but you're not indigenous. You are a derivative of something. But but that's what it is. Because what it is what we come to find out, how people used to ridicule us and make us feel, or try to make you feel some kind of way. When you say, oh, your ancestors were slaves, and make you feel, now it's like we the one that really got the history. Everybody else don't even know who the hell they is. We the only one that know who we are. So we're around a lot of people who really don't know who they are. They taking the story that has been, programmed throughout the world, but it still don't tell you the origin. Because if you ask them, who is the origin and where did y'all come from? Well, they're gonna give you the Darwin. They're gonna have a white man at the end and the transformation of it going into a monkey. So what are you really trying to say? What is codedly being said? Oh, that you came out of the black man. Because he make us the monkey, and then out of that monkey development came the white man. So somewhere in that transition, the rest of them came out of there too. So that means in the beginning, you're not in the beginning. You derive from something. But they're sitting there and tell you and say, oh, you from Africa. What? How are you so sure I'm from Africa? You don't know I'm from Africa, but you're gonna hold that, right? You're gonna hold that position. Okay, we got a message. Hold on. Everything is going backwards. As you can see, our worldwide awakening is the reason for these actions. Exactly, Sharon. That's why you can have a person talking about Stop Woke Act. Think about that. You're gonna make legislation to say you're gonna stop people from knowing who they are and to get to the truth. Is that not nefarious? Is that not diabolical? And then you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of you not want me to wake the hell up? Why you don't want me to wake up? Why you don't want nobody to know? Because what happens is when the truth revealed, and if we're going to go by, you say, justice and freedom and law and all that other stuff, then people going to have to pack up. And you're going to end up packing up and going back into a place y'all don't want to go. So I think the end game is, if it ever comes to the truth of that, they say, well, shit, if we can't have it, nobody can have it. You understand? Do I need to say it again? If we can't have it, nobody can have it. Is that really the mindset that they're holding? Maybe. So let's go ahead into this Vatican. So let me show you this about this whole thing, what they just said. Now, again, the Pope had went on a tour to the indigenous people. He went up in Canada, and then he went somewhere in Africa, right? But he never came here to the United States. Why he didn't come here? Any of y'all seen my video of the Pope's letter to black people? Right? He put that letter out there. And so in that letter, it may be something codedly he was saying that's already been told. But again, somebody who's still in the game had to create a narrative in the story, and then he had to put some people and put them there and told everybody, this is the people, not them. But it's ironic that the places that they say, when you talk about them southeastern indigenous tribes, is the same place that black Americans that come from the rebel nations are the same places. A coincidence? Is that a coincidence? Maybe, right? Shan Washington again says, there are children of the fallen. Hence, all the wickedness that is going on, you are exactly correct. Have asked black people their heritage and they don't know. She goes on and says, that is their mindset. I have seen that Pope video of yours. Okay, right. That was the one with the Pope's letter that talked about the Pope saying that the game that had been here and that had been a rogue nation, and they stole this. So I'm saying that maybe the Pope is telling the truth and saying, hey, Black Americans, you are them people they said that you the indigenous. Because when you go back into, I think was it the 1854, 18, something, Webster Dictionary, I think it says the American is the copper color races, right? So people have said copper color is this kind of mixture, high, bright looking person that got stringy hair, right? That's what they want us to believe. But then in some of the other annals of sex, or not, the annals of the logs that they did, right? What they wrote was, they said they seen Negroes, they seen Black folks. Now, how you mixing that up and then saying that these other people who some people call them as, what do they call them people? Siberians and stuff like that, right? That they end up coming over here, right? And then when you say the trails of tears, how you only got 5 nations, and then the nation that you're showing, a lot of them, when you go do the research, these are white people pretending to be Indians. So, okay, so when you call this freedmen's, well, the freedmen's were people who's supposed to be under them people. And then you got freedmen that was supposed to be part of the treaties, but then you say, well, you made us Negroes and Blacks, so that took that away from us. So it's like, who are we really? And why is the world all trying to be asphyxiated on trying to make us Africans? You know what I'm saying? You got to ask yourself, why everybody keep telling you Africa, 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 Africa? But they don't want to be there. They all come in here. Not all of them. Not all of them. But you get what I'm saying? So there's a shell game going on somewhere. Somewhere. But anyway, let's look at this Vatican. Let me show you what this Vatican stuff is. I got a couple more messages. Mr. Spencer, what's good, brother? Oh, you okay? I gave you a shout out. I appreciate what you do and always do. You know that. Shan said yes and laughing. The annals, right? The annals of history, right? These people always got the connotative language, got that sexual endos in there, but you know how it go. So the Vatican rejects that the Vatican responded to the indigenous demands and formally repudiates the doctrine of discovery, right? They say that the theories backed by the 15th century, which they call the papal bulls, that legitimized the colonial area seizures of native lands, and from which came the basis what they call property law. Let me say this one more again. Now the Vatican came out. Let me show you again on the screen what I'm talking about. The Vatican came out, right? Because a lot of stuff happened this week. They covering a lot of stuff. They covering up a lot of stuff. So let me show you, right? So let me show you them, right? Because every time they talk about indigenous, they show these folks like these are only indigenous people when it comes to indigenous, and yet you say the original people who started all this, but they don't never look like them people. How you get milked down? So well, anyway, you never mind. So anyway, the Vatican rejects, and they said the doctrine of discovery. They said that there was a demand by the indigenous, but again, they didn't come here, and they wanted them to formally repudiate the doctrine of discovery. Now, the Vatican City said this. They said that the theories backed by the 15th century papal bulls that legitimized the colonial area seizures of native lands, and they're using the word natives, they did say indigenous. Native just mean born. So there's a mystery to these people they call native. They tell us that they came from the what they call them, the Bering Straits. Like I showed you that video, and somebody went over there, and I'm telling you, ain't no way you coming across no Bering Straits. You talking about you bringing kids and if you ain't never went there before, you don't know how far you gone, and you don't know if you're gonna be prepared for it. But that's the story they sold us, right? But you can tell me somebody can come off the Bering Strait, but you can't tell me. Let's say, for instance, if we're gonna take the African story, that from West Africa you can't get over to South America. They can't get over. If we can take off from the free throw line, I'm pretty sure we can get over from the damn West Coast to the damn over to South America, right? To come over there and come across there. But you can tell me the story that come back from India, that goes through China, that goes, right? They got to go through Alaska. You know what I'm saying? You're going through all that, but I can't come across that water and be over here. Okay, whatever you say, right? I take it for what you say. Ain't that right? I got you. All right, I got you. Right? So that's what they say, right? So the papal bull is what legitimized the colonial seizure, and they say it was basis of property law. So what they saying is how they were able to steal this land has something to do with property law. Had nothing to do with really the papal bull. So the statement said that the papal bull or decree did not adequately affect the equal dignity and rights of indigenous people. Oh, we know that. So what's y'all contribution and culpability for what y'all created too? I think somebody need to be bringing their ass up too, talking about reparations, right? I don't see them being not a part of that as well, right? And they said it was considered expression of the Catholic faith. So they saying what the Europeans did. Now they separated themselves. They said the European power took that doctrine and they went around and they subjugated people and they was abusive and all this stuff using the doctrine of discovery. And so they said that the papal bull, right? So they gave another statement that said that from the Development and Education Office of the Vatican, this is what they said. They gave a hooray the recognition of their complicity in colonial abuses, right? They kind of was happy. Yeah, well, we gave the doctrine, but we didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? That's what they said. We gave the doctrine, but we didn't do it. We didn't do it. But really, it was the European powers. They did it. They're the ones who did this, right? And so they said now they want to give credit to the Pope who's now. They said, well, he was the first Latin American pontiff. And then they want to give the sympathy, he's been hospitalized, and this has been like a year after he did his indigenous tour when he went to Canada and he talked about the rescinding the doctrine. And these indigenous leaders will welcome this statement. Now, here it is. He went there and talked to them. And supposedly been saying they were trying to, let me show the thumbnail. Because it's on the thumbnail. I showed it on the thumbnail. Put that thumbnail up there for me. Sir, put that thumbnail up there. So you can see it on there. You put that up there. Right? So you see there, it says rescind the doctrine, right? So when they went up in Canada and he was doing his Pope speech, that sign you see was held by two so-called Native American women, and they claim he didn't see it. But they ain't really trying to get rid of that because they saying, you know what? They did that to y'all. But they said, okay, so are you admitting what they did was wrong? And then are you rescinding it? See, if they rescind the doctrine, right, then the gig is up. The game is over, right? But because they created, again, those who see my video about standard of civilization, and when they created that, and everybody else that was not white was considered savages as an unwild. And then when you talk about really the doctrine of discovery says, if you go to any land and none of them are Christians and they haven't built anything of modernity, you are able to be able to colonize it and subjugate the people. That's what they said, right? So now when we start talking about a lot of this, right? When we start talking about a lot of this, people get angry and they get mad at us. Say, oh man, what are you talking about? That's because they're not really teaching history. And they're not teaching the history from the perspective of those who are subjugated, look at history different from those who are benefiting from the privilege of it. Let me say that again. There's a different understanding of the history from those who are subjugated versus those who get the privilege of it. When you're in the privileged position and the person who's been subjugated and telling you the atrocities and the thing, you ain't trying to help hear that, nor are you trying to connect to it. Because if it's to be true and things need to change, then maybe you may have to go back to where you came from. And nobody wants that because you already know why you ran. I know they tell us to seeking asylum. Seeking asylum means you could have been a trick in your nation, selling your people out to the people that end up colonizing them. Or you might be from the families of that, and you done brought your ass up under us. And so as I read that oath to you about what they said, when they said they take the allegiance, they swear by it, and that whoever's your enemy is our enemy, whether it's foreign or domestic. Well, if they got a problem with us, they got a problem with us too. Now, I'm not trying to be divisive. I'm just telling you what it says, right? So it's just funny that they say this is about property law. So that means that this game is not legitimate. And so if you're using property law, that means that somebody is really the owner, and they're going to trick these people who are the owners of it, and they're ruling it through property. So how do you restore your property? Because that story I did about those so-called Native Americans, their treaties said that they only had rights of residency, and that their treaties could be abolished at any time. So that tells me you're not the indigenous. You can't be the indigenous. You mean you got a right to occupancy, but they can relinquish that. So that ain't you. So now there's the question to who is the Black American? Who really are you? And why is it when it comes to try to identify you, they want to let us believe what we want to believe, but they don't want to do anything formally to put it on the books for some odd reason? That's the question we got to look at. What is it they really hide? What is it they don't really want to tell us? And whatever we're doing, we're making some moves. We're making things rumble in this place, y'all. People get angry. People are showing them fangs. They get angry. And so right now, look at what they're doing to Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump don't run, who y'all think most likely going to be the person they want? Is it Mr. Stop Woke Act? Is it Mr. Stop Woke Act? Does Mr. Stop Woke Act want to do this to us? Do he want to bring us back there? Is that what he is? He already said can't teach that history, right? He said right? A whole lot of stuff, right? Is that what they going for? Because they slowly taking the rejustification. We getting about them cities. They pushing us. We going back down south, and then they mixing with these other people. They coming down south, and what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Something could happen. Something could not happen. I'm just asking. Because it looked like that's what, okay, so if they don't really want Donald Trump in, because Donald Trump is about cleaning house. He's about saying, hey, that shit about you anchoring people here and your ass being that. No, we're not playing that. No, right? So that busts that game up. So they don't want him for that. They can't bring him back for that. They need somebody else who's saying, hey, we'll make sure they don't got nothing. And we're going to try to put them in a position, right, once again. So that's why we have to be staying away, watching for things, and be like, hey, what's really going on here, man? What's really going on? So, ain't too much else to say about this doctrine of discovery, but the fact is that the Vatican should take culpability of the abuses and the things, but guess what? They don't have military. And see, when somebody been so long and you allow them to build up, and now you hear people say, oh, they got all this technology and they got all this stuff. Well, guess so. Because again, I told you, those who've seen my video years back when I talked about the Haitian, and I talked about what Thomas Jefferson, and what Thomas Jefferson told the country at that time, that we be in the position, we have to always be anticipating the day that they wake up and come to the realization. So that's why they always, when it comes to funding, make sure they got enough for the military, they put enough money for propaganda, right? So now you can't go to school, so they got to make it so we can't go to school. Now they're sitting here, they're twinkling with you, they're going at this full blast campaign. Like the last show, I told you 50 years, right? 50 years of doing that. And you see what's happening. Did you see that chart I put in there? They were showing silent generation, baby boomers, Gen X, right? Gen Z, and they saw how we're getting gayer and gayer and gayer. And what happens when we get gayer, gayer, gayer? Now, again, those who are LGBT, so I'm not against you. But again, as I told you, could you be manufactured? Is it really saying that the Most High is so asleep at the wheel, that all this stuff that we seeing that people don't know the difference of, they can't define what woman is. I'm this guy, but I'm thinking I'm this. So we're gonna say that the Most High, the creator of the world, is so confused, made so confusing, or is there a monkey wrench that's been put in there? You may be who you are, but I'm just saying it's a possibility something could have been intravenously put in through your development. Remember, if women couldn't being able to breastfeed, then if I know that atrazine is a chemical, and it's talked about how atrazine and what to do with a frog, and a frog can, from a male will want to be a female, and then if you can't breastfeed, then if I'm making formula that's a chemical and I put it in your development stage, yes, you are born that way, but you might have been intravenously put in that way. Because how is it that it's just growing like that? I'm not against it, but I mean, some of us been around when we knew, like, okay, we didn't see it like that, and there's nothing wrong if that's what you choose. But when you're trying to taking people, putting them in the front, and you're gonna make him to be this poster, and again, you know who I'm talking about, his son, well, daughter, right? That person's daughter, right? To talk to Michelle Obama. If you've seen the last video, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so why it has to be the black one has to be the poster. Why you can't get somebody else to be the poster? Because why? You the one that sell everything around the world. Everybody follows you. So if you doing it, they gonna do it, right? You see what Africa tried to do? Africa said, we don't want this mess here, right? And so what Kamala said, oh no, yeah, well, we still here for that. And you know, we'll be back because you guys are gonna be going against the human rights of these people. And we are the democracy executors. And guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna see them back over there. They're gonna be back over there. They're gonna force that over there. And everybody who done picked up from here thinking running over there is gonna be safety. You already in the warehouse, y'all. You got everything that everybody wants. They just got to figure out how to get you out of there. And if you can't manufacture and produce the things you need to defend yourself, it's only a matter of time. And I don't wish this on none of my people. But this is what it is. So, you know, you take it or leave it alone. This is the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. And yeah. Gayer and gayer, right? You know, let me I'm gonna give you the email address. Let me see. Let me put that down. But before I go that, no, take this and then we come right back. I'm gonna make sure you get that though. Miss Washington. Which one you got? You got something else for me? Always and always will be attacking us. That's for sure. Always will and always have. And they want us gone. But they don't know.
These motherfuckers don't know who we are. They don't know. They couldn't possibly fucking know, dog. That's from the heart.
All right, so it's like, really, they don't know who we be. Everybody tell us they know who we are, but do they really know who we be? Because we're coming into that. We're going to come before that, before the world. And everybody that already had that inkling know, but until it's fully formulated, right before your eyes, y'all going to know exactly what DMX was talking about. Y'all know, but y'all don't want to adhere to that. So some of your plot, plan, and whatever it is. But we don't hate nobody. We're the most kind, generous, loving people. But people like to take advantage of the situation because they feel like, well, they think we stupid. You believe everything of the propaganda that everybody put on us. But when you really get to know us, ain't nothing to be jealous or hateful of. We can't help who we are, what we came from, what it developed, and what it produced. That's all. That's all it is, y'all. I got another message in here. That's right, Miss Sharon Washington. I'm gonna let everybody see that. That's exactly what's gonna happen. Exactly what's gonna happen. Because something is coming down the pipe. Somebody got something going down, right? We see it coming. And many of us sitting here, we talk about all kinds of things, but then you act like you don't see the things that's coming. Like you said, many parts of tinkle. You see a handwriting on the wall. But you know, to each his own. I'm not here to judge or tell nobody nothing other than what I'm seeing. And so I'm trying to think which you can do the let me put it in. Let me put it in here for you. Let me put say don't know you, huh? All right. I'm trying to think which let's see. Let me put this in here for you, sister. Edit that out. Let's see. This is knowledge. Okay, here go. I think that's one, right? All right. You send it to there, right there, sister. Send it to that one there, and I can get what you send it. Okay, so again, I'm the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. Been doing this for over 11 years. Anniversary coming up real soon. I'm trying to come as much as I can because I got some things that's happening there. I don't know, man. If things don't work out, it's gonna be hard for me to get back in. But I'm trying to do what I can on the utmost. I've been fighting this, and so you know, for those who like what I do, today's show a little bit off, but I had to do it because again, there's brothers who contribute to this show, and I don't want them to ever think that whatever they contribute, donate, and so forth, that I don't appreciate it. I tell you, y'all come through when, you know, we be needing it. I ain't even gonna lie to you. And so I'm always very appreciative of whatever you do and you contribute. Always and forever will be indebted to y'all. So I try to make sure I come and do these shows on the regular as much as, but you know, I put stuff together with stuff I see over the week, so it takes me a little bit longer. I'm thinking I can do one hitters. I'm thinking about just I can come on every day and do one hitters until I can't do it, but I kind of like it when I put this theme line. But just to keep it going on the regular, I'm gonna try to push it day to day because I know I'm tired because when I'm not doing shows, I'm watching like y'all watching, and I'm tired of that. I am so tired. And I know why they doing it is because there's no money and nothing else that you do. You can't get paid if you're talking truth. You can't get paid if you're trying to reveal. You're not going to get paid. And I know a lot of us, we need this as a part of our income. And you would think that somebody who's been doing as long as that, I've been stuck. I couldn't get 3,000 subscribers. They took 60 away. I'm like, damn, 60 people just left like that? No, they just took it. What can you do about it, right? And every time you get a certain number, they take them back. So it is what it is, right? So, I got a message here. Okay, thanks. Okay. All right. So yeah, you can send it there. And so again, I want to thank each and every one of y'all that came and stayed, hang out with us. I want to be doing it where y'all can come on. We can all talk. I'll bring some stuff where y'all can talk or bring something to the table. We can talk about it because it's always been about race, no matter how you look at it. Some people think it's just a construct. It don't exist. Or we can't talk about it. There's nothing to be scared about. It's just, it is what it is. And some people just got to come to the realization that y'all have been, y'all the beneficiaries of maybe what some of your ancestors done. That don't make us hate you. Just understand what it is. And if y'all really want to rectify it, do what's right. If not, if y'all let it go down to the wire to the end and y'all let the Most High, which going to happen anyway, and it's like, well, you know, I think you can only get, it's like Moses was trying to plead with the Most High and say, well, maybe it's 50 good of them. Maybe 50. Well, okay, wouldn't be a gracious and merciful God. Well, maybe, okay, if it's not 50, maybe it's 45. They ain't 45. Well, maybe, okay. Well, it would be not right for a merciful and merciful God like you. Maybe there's 30. There's not 30. You understand? He pleaded all the way down. You better go get Lot and get you and get out of there, because that's all that's good in there. Again, from Most Hated Show in the Black Corner. Until my next show, y'all. Until the next show.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.